Good morning. If we could have quiet in the room, we're starting the hearing.
Could we have roll call, please?
Good morning. Jerry Pavlik,
Present.
Christopher Kammer,
Here.
Dalia Mendoza, Dan Caliendo,
Here.
Lori Benacour,
Here.
Allison Thomas, Angela Jones-Wan,
Here.
Susan Kennedy,
Here.
James Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Lord, we ask for your guidance today as we consider matters that will affect the safety and welfare of many people in our county. Help us to listen with open minds to matters that are important before us, to act on the matters that will benefit those who reside in our area. Keep our minds open and alert, our hearts compassionate, and our comments charitable. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's a good point. The Zoning Commission of Palm Beach County has convened at 9 a.m. in the Vista Center Ken Rogers Hearing Room, Jog Road, West Palm Beach, Florida, to consider proposed applications and staff recommendations pursuant to and other actions the Palm Beach County Unified Land Development Code. The Commission takes final action regarding Class B conditional uses, subdivision variances, and Type 2 variances, and issues advisory recommendations on other requests. The Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County will conduct a public hearing at 301 North Olive Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida, in the June M. Thompson Memorial Chambers, 6th floor, at 9:30 a.m. on applications not subject to Zoning Commission and final action. Zoning hearings are quasi-judicial in nature and must be conducted to afford all parties due process. The Board of County Commissioners has adopted procedures for conduct quasi-judicial hearings to govern the conduct of such proceedings. The procedures include the following. Any communication with commissioners which occurs outside the public hearing must be fully disclosed at the hearing. Applicants and persons attending the hearing may question commissioners regarding their disclosures. Such questions shall be limited solely to disclosures made at the hearing or the written communications made a part of the record at the hearing. Any persons representing a group or organization must provide documentation that the person representing the group has the actual authority to do so regarding the matter before the commission. Any person who wishes to speak at the hearing will be sworn in and may be subject to cross-examination. The applicant and county staff may cross-examine witnesses, and any other persons attending the hearing may submit cross-examination questions, including follow-up questions to the chair who will conduct the examination. The scope of cross-examination is limited to the facts alleged by the witness in relation to the application. Public comment is encouraged, and all relevant information should be presented to the Commission in order that a fair and appropriate decision be made. We have proof of publication.
We do.
Motion to receive and file.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. County Attorney, will you swear in anyone?
So all those wishing to speak on today's items in this room and those who are in the spillover room, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you all swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do I have an approval of the minutes?
A motion to
approve the May minutes.
second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Agenda approval. We have some add deletes.
Okay, we do have modifications to the agenda, starting with items for our postponement withdrawals agenda. Item number 3, PDD CA ZV 2025-293 Park West Commerce North. The applicant submitted a request to postpone, so when we get to that portion of the agenda, a motion will be required. Item 4, ZCA ZV 2025-300 Park West Commerce South. Again, the applicant submitted a request for postponement, so when we get to that portion of the agenda, a motion would be required by the board. On the consent agenda, item number 1, ABNZ DV 2026-617 Fire Rescue. It's just a modification to our numbering on the requests. On the regular agenda, Item number 5, ZV PDD DOA 2024-1867, Wellington Vista. We have a modification to numbering of our requests to align with the motions. There is an amendment to Exhibit C2 for our all petitions condition number 2 and engineering condition number 11.
Okay.
Motion to adopt the agenda with the modifications?
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Do we have any conflicts or recusals? Starting with Commissioner Van Jones.
I have none.
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 And I have none. Okay. On to the consent agenda.
Well, if we could go to the postponement
Oh,
first.
I'm so sorry, yes.
Not a problem. So if the applicant can come to the podium, they've requested a postponement to the July 2nd zoning commission hearing.
Yes, good afternoon. Lauren McClellan for the record, for the applicant. Yes, we requested a postponement to the July 2nd zoning commission and July 15th Board of County Commissioner meeting.
And that's for both 3 and 4.
Okay.
A motion will be
Motion.
needed.
We need a motion.
Can I ask a question? Are there any cards for anyone speaking to the postponement?
These are all numbers.
No?
No.
And I have a question of the applicant. This postponement, we've heard that the applicant is going to the Department of Transportation trying to work on a signal. Will that be by July? It's going to be by July 2nd that this postponement will be put to July 2nd. Will that answer from the Department of Transportation possibly be by that time, or did you need something a little longer?
The request for the postponement doesn't have to do with DOT. It's for a different reason.
Yeah, I understand the reason that was stated, but also that there is an issue there with the community, and really is working to try to obtain a signal. So this isn't. It may not come by that time. The answer.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'll motion to postpone to July 2nd for number 3.
And 4.
Sorry.
Do we take them both at the same time or separately?
You can take
Okay,
them.
then both at the same time then. Motion to postpone number 3 and number 4 to July 2nd.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And there is no withdrawals, right?
Now can
So-
I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
You want to do disclosures first?
Disclosures, yes.
Sorry about that.
Do I have any disclosures?
Regarding the consent
on
agenda.
Just
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, yes.
None. None.
None.
None.
None.
No.
And I have none.
Do you have any cards?
No cards on the consent agenda.
Item 1 or 2. Okay.
Now may I make a motion to adopt to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second the motion to approve.
Okay. I have a motion for the consent agenda, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
So that brings us to page 6 of the agenda. Item number 5, ZV PDD DOA 2024-01867, Wellington Vista Phase 2. This is under our heading of zoning applications with current future land use applications. We have several requests before the board, including a type 2 variance, an official zoning map amendment, and 2 development order amendments. So we can turn it over to the applicant for a presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Brian Terry with Insight Studio here on behalf of FCI to discuss the Wellington Vista development with you. This property is located just on the west side of the Turnpike on the south side of Lake Worth Road. It's 3 acres that is right in front of the existing Wellington Vista apartment community. A little bit of quick history. This development was completed, I believe, approximately to 2021. when it opened up for occupancy. It had gone through a land use amendment application process and a rezoning, and this was the original sort of master plan for that development. It included 27 acres, which is the current apartment community that you see kind of outlined in yellow on the bottom, and then it included a 3-acre, it's called an out parcel that was fronting on Lake Worth Road. The intention was that that was likely going to become commercial uses. It was actually proposed as a daycare. It had a fast food restaurant. It had a little bit of office space mixed into it. A variety of things that were being that conceptually were approved on that property for commercial uses. Fast forward to today, as everybody on this board is aware, there's been significant changes along the Lake Worth corridor. A lot of those commercial demands have been located on other parcels, and so there was an opportunity here for FCI to kind of rethink what that the best and highest use for that property could be. So we're here to propose incorporating that into the original 27 acres, making it part of the overall PUD, and converting that use to residential. So presuming that we're able to walk out of here with your recommendation of approval today, we'll be reducing the intensity of that property fairly significantly from what the current approvals are for. So as Wendy mentioned, we have 4 different applications. We do have a variance request for a setback and a buffer, and so I'll kind of walk you through the reason for that variance request. We are doing the zoning map amendment, so rezoning the property from CG to PUD to be consistent with the other 27 acres. We're doing a development order amendment to again, merge that into one project, so adding acreage into the existing PUD, modifying the density, adding 100 units into the overall development. And then we are requesting density bonus through the workforce housing bonus program and the transfer development rights program. So that's kind of the grouping of the 4 different applications. So once again, this is the proposal, how it would look married together. On the 3 acres, there will be one singular building that will house those 100 units. Again, the idea here is reduction of the intensity of the proposed use from commercial to residential. Certainly add residential units where there's infrastructure in place, where it makes sense from a planning perspective. We are going to be providing 27% of those 100 units as workforce housing units, which is desperately needed. And then the reduction of the trips, again, from the intensity, to approximately a 60% reduction in overall traffic volume from the residential to commercial. Just real quickly, because we do have a tandem land use application that's going through the process, ideally we'll go to the Board of County Commission and work through the adoption of all those at one time. We're going through the density process. Again, the overall development will end up at 470 units. There's 370 that exist on the 27 acres today. We're adding 100. We're going through the base density of HR 8 units per acre. We're adding 2 units per acre through the TDR program, and then 5.5 through the workforce housing program. Subsequently, that's where we're getting to the 27% of those units being workforce. Zooming in so that we can just kind of talk about the 3 acres specifically and the variance itself. We're proposing a 4-story building. We were looking at alternatives that were slightly taller. There was a little bit of concern about compatibility of going to 5 stories. So moving to 4 stories, it's more consistent with, there's a hotel across the street on the north side of Lake Worth Road. There's at 4 stories. We're 4 stories, 44 feet. Our community to the south, the 27 acres, has 2- and 3-story structures. It does work. It's on a very highly visible intersection at Lake Worth and the Turnpike. The one component that we end up with a slight variance is along the north is now turned to the left, is on the east side there, where we have about 175 feet, and it's a U building with the recreation amenities in the center, and then a parking structure on the eastern side facing the Turnpike, that we end up with a slight setback and a variance, buffer variance. Really, the issue is that there's a 10-foot utility easement that runs along that eastern side. FP&L has the easement. We have to relocate that. there's only one place for it to go, and that is along that buffer. So you can see where there's the ramp that accesses the parking structure, that 175-foot, we have a slight request for the variance for the buffer and, again, for the setback. The other components to that eastern property boundary, we meet the setbacks as well as the buffer requirements. We're not asking for a reduction of plant material. We're going to provide all the requirements of those within the other locations of the buffer. But yeah, it's just the width itself where we have an issue there. Briefly, again, the north elevation, so what you would see from Lake Worth Road, the the east elevation, which is what you would see as you would be exiting the turnpike, essentially on the off-ramp of the turnpike. As you can see, anywhere where it shows green, essentially we meet the buffer requirement. Anywhere that it's yellow, that's where our variance request is, but we still will be able to provide some landscape within that to minimize any impact. To bring this to a close, again, we certainly appreciate staff support on all of these 4 requests. And again, we think it's a great opportunity, again, to bring some workforce units to kind of solidify and complete that development approval and the vacant parcel there right at that intersection. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer anything that you bring up.
Thank you. Do you have
Disclosures?
disclosures? Well, I was going to say, do we want staff to
You can go ahead and do disclosures. if you
disclosures
want.
first? Okay, disclosures. We'll start down here. None?
None.
None.
I spoke to Brian Terry and Caroline Villanueva.
And I had that same conversation with those two.
And again, I had the same conversation with those 2.
As did I.
I don't think staff has anything in addition to add to that presentation other than the workforce housing is on site.
Yes, it is.
So it's all going to be on the site in that proposed buildings, and staff is in support of all the requests. Would you like a presentation from staff?
I don't think we need one, no.
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 Okay.
And
I believe
questions?
we might have cards. I don't know.
And we have no
No cards.
cards
No cards.
on that.
Would you like a motion?
Yeah,
A
motion.
to
Yep,
adopt the
mhm.
resolution approving item 5A.
I have a motion.
Second.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to recommend approval of item 5B.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to recommend approval of item 5C.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
to recommend approval of item 5D.
I'll second that.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda, item C for previously postponed items, we have item number 6, CA 2025-956, Calvary Chapel Christian School. The request before the board is a recommendation for Class A conditional use to allow a elementary secondary school on 18.588 acres. We could turn it over to the applicant for a presentation and then staff.
Thank you.
Do disclosures first?
Disclosures. We'll start over here.
I spoke to Don Herring on the project and staff.
I have none.
I spoke to Don Herring and staff and Caitlin Dean and staff and the applicant's representative.
Spoke with Caitlin Dean and applicant's representatives.
I did speak to Caitlin Dean and the representatives as well.
I've had multiple meetings with the community and all of the applicants' team, meetings of the Jupiter Farms leadership where I've been present. I'm also a member of Jupiter Farms Residents, which is one of the opposing groups on this organization. Because I live in Jupiter Farms, all the people in Jupiter Farms are members of Jupiter Farms Residents. I'm also an elected supervisor of the South Indian River Water Control District, which also has permitting authority over the road and district on this project. So I just wanted to, it's not a requirement for disclosure, but I just wanted everyone to understand where I was on this.
Okay, thank you.
And one other thing, none of that hinders my ability to objectively look at the facts in this issue.
All right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Donaldson Hearing with the firm of Kotler and Hearing Landscape Architects and Land Planners, located in Jupiter, Florida. Thank you for having us today. We're really looking forward to our presentation to you. We do have our project team, so just in terms of a matter of introductions, there are a number of representatives here today on behalf of Calvary Church in Jupiter Farms, as well as Calvary Christian School. We have our civil engineer here from the Ingenuity Group, our traffic engineer from Kimley Horn, Ms. Stephanie Kinlan. We have representatives from Gunster, Caitlin Dean, and Brian Seymour, and a number of representatives from Kotler and Hearing. I will be making the majority of the presentation today, walking us through the site plan, and then Pete Hoffhines, who is a very seasoned land planner, an expert land planner with experience in both the private and public sector. We'll get up and walk you through the specifics of the conditional use criteria and how it should be looked at, and to identify the consistency with the comprehensive plan. And so we won't have any other members speaking unless it's within Q&A with our request. So the request that's before you today is on behalf of Calvary Church and Calvary Christian School of Jupiter Farms. It's important to note that Calvary Church is an integral part of Jupiter Farms. They've been there for 2 decades. They have a significant presence in the farms and participate and have programs, and their church provides a lot of benefit to the overall community. This is an item which people are extremely passionate on both sides. So they're representatives of Jupiter Farms, JFRA, which is a residents association. Now, that's not a POA, so not everybody's a member of Jupiter Farms Residents Association. But we have a number of people here on behalf of Calvary Christian Church. Many, and probably the most of them here today, live within the Jupiter Farms neighborhood, which generally is defined as the 33478 zip code, and I'll be talking a lot about that as we get into the presentation. So we're excited. As you all are aware, staff is recommending denial of this request, and I think our goal is that perhaps we haven't appropriately communicated with staff the consistency elements of this. So it is clearly our intent with this presentation to demonstrate without the shadow of any doubt that this is consistent with the plan, the comprehensive plan. It's the comprehensive plan of Palm Beach County and the Unified Land Development Code that are our guiding light to get here. And so we'll walk through that. So let's go ahead and get started if we can. This is the area of the general region. You see the main road that's running through the middle of the area is Indian Town Road. This is a major arterial. It's a significant roadway. It's not over capacity, and our traffic engineers can tell you that, but that is important to the context of the site and its location, because the use that we propose is appropriately located on a major arterial. 2 of the adjacent intersections include, to the west is Alexander Run, and to the east is Jupiter Farms Road. Those are important. Those are kind of the 2 major, I wouldn't call either of them major, but they're the 2 most significant intersections in the area. Both of those are signalized intersections. The intersection to the east, to Jupiter Farms Road and the Jupiter Farms Commercial Center, is approximately 1 mile in size. And again, just to reinforce that Calvary Chapel has been a part of this community for decades, for several decades, and they have a significant presence in the Jupiter Farms Commercial Center. This is a large commercial center. It's not just a 78,000 square feet of retail. This is 190,000 square feet of total use. So it's a very, very big center, 180,000 square feet of total use. So it's a large center. Publix is located in there along with several other uses. And it's important to note, because the context of what's occurring along Indiantown Road corridor is really important to the discussion, is the land area, which is about equal to the commercial center to the east, is generally non-residential use. There's a Bushel Stop, which serves probably every suburban landscaper in northern Palm Beach County and Jupiter and Tequesta. So a lot of non-residential activities. There's another church within this area as well. To our immediate west of us is Bush Wildlife Center. To the north is an RV park, which we'll talk about a little bit more. Beacon Baptist, another church religious organization out into the farms, and then the Jupiter Farms Elementary School, which we'll talk about schools, because that's what we're proposing is the school. We'll talk about that a lot, and we'll get back to that a little bit more. Zooming in just quickly so you can look at the context, here's our site. Our site plan is integrated into the plan. It's about 18.5 acres in size in general. Our access is from Indiantown Road onto Rocky Pines Road. Immediately to the west of us is the Bush Wildlife Center, and that's important. While we love the use, it's a good use. But, you know, when we begin to talk about uses, this use actually draws traffic from all over the state of Florida and has children's camps and other things. So it's not just a passive use that's there. It's a good one. And then to the north is an RV park. But again, to the context of where our site is, what I showed you to the east, this is a park that draws traffic from probably all over the United States and Florida. Great location, but again, looking at where people are coming from as you begin to decipher through the arguments is important. Our site plan meets every single objective criteria of the code. That's very, very important. We are proposing 980 students. We originally proposed 1,200. We decreased that by over 20% to 980. We decreased the building square footage. Our building is a 1- and 2-story building. The main school is a 2-story building. It's about 109,000 square feet, but its building footprint is just over 60,000 square feet. There's some confusion that might be there. Floor area ratio, which is a metric defined by the plan. The plan defines a metric of a 0.20. We're a 0.16. Again, we reduced to achieve compatibility. Our lot coverage is a 0.13. The plan says we could have a 0.15. And it's really important because I think the staff report is a little bit confusing in this context to make you think that this site has been over-programmed. 68% of this site is open space. 68% of this site is open space. And I've got a graphic that will help you see that very, very quickly. So let me walk you through the site and how people get here. First, the little yellow line that just pulled up there on Indiantown Road, there's an existing left turn lane that provides access onto Rocky Pines. We are extending that in accordance with our recommendations from Palm Beach County, who has a traffic division, who is opined on and is in agreement with our traffic study. We do meet all adequate public facility requirements. We're extending that turn lane by about 230 feet. We're also adding a right turn lane, and a right turn lane is a condition of approval that's being done. And the important thing here also comes into how conditions of approval on institutional uses within the FLU are addressed. This right turn lane is not needed to meet the numbers of cars coming from the west. It's to recognize that the speed on Indiantown Road, a 4-lane facility, is fairly high because it's under capacity, and so people travel fast there. So that right turn lane provides for safety and mitigates for a number of issues. We have 2 points of ingress and egress into the site. The main is in the center opposite Bush Wildlife Center, and the entrance where we do our queuing for where the school cars would come in and drop off are from that southern entrance to keep all of the cars off of Indiantown Road, and I'll walk through that for you. But this graphic right here shows you really, really clearly 68% of this site is open space. 68%. Preserves, lakes, fields, and that open space has been appropriately located along our boundary to the east, where we have some residential neighbors, and along our boundary to the south, where we have additional agricultural and residential neighbors to the south. So that's a really, really important factor. I've oriented the site plan just so that we can be a little bit bigger here so that you can see it. So north is to the right, and let me walk you through things. So we have a multi-purpose field. that's proposed, a couple of playgrounds that are interior for the different age, because this is not just a high school, it's not just a middle school, it's not just an elementary school, it's K through 12. So we have a program here that we think meets the area need, and so you can see where those uses are. The right turn lane that's coming in, and you can see Rocky Pines here in a little bit more detail. We're actually totally rebuilding Rocky Pines to a different standard that exists today. We're adding a turn lane so that there can be free flow of traffic. We're adding sidewalks. We're adding drainage. So we're doing everything. But the student drop-off would be from the second yellow line that comes in. They'll come in. We have a queue. I'll go through that queue. Of course, your county traffic folks establish what those standards are into the queue, and then they would go out onto Rocky Pines Road and go back out to Indiantown Road and leave. But we're also adding an additional turn lane at Indiantown Road, again, just to ensure that traffic would continue to flow. And of course, your staff has seen that, and your traffic division has opined on that accordingly. The project will be built in 2 phases. So the first phase will not include the 2 buildings that I have highlighted on the screen. So we are K through 12, about 75 students per classroom, about the 300 in total in the high school range. So the area that's highlighted, the wing that's to the east, would not be constructed day one. Because that would be high school. We're going to start K through 5, and then we'll build a grade every single year. So it won't be well into the 2030s that this is at full capacity. And the gymnasium, which is a 1-story building, would also come at a later date. So as we've gone through this, just to want to point out a number of conditions of approval we've agreed to, that we've done and we've negotiated throughout the time. I'm not going to go through each of these, but they're all very, very important because they go to really the requirements of the plan for institutional uses, that you address compatibility through conditions which we have addressed on the screen. Just so you understand Rocky Points Road and the queuing, we are adding an additional turn lane as you would approach where the students come into the site parent drop-off. That's 12 feet wide. This would be generally a free flow into the site. So we've established that queue based on what the county has asked us to do. That could be extended if there was ever an issue, but that does meet the requirements of the code, because we don't want anyone on Rocky Pines inhibited by our traffic flow. So the queuing is important to understand, very, very important to understand, because your county looks at it in great detail. This board has seen many, many schools over the years. So we actually have over a half a mile of queuing on the site, over a half a mile. We've agreed to split start time. So we'll have a start time somewhere around 8 o'clock, another start time 30 minutes later around 8:30. So 100% of our cars will stack onto the site. And more importantly, our queue is 150% of what your county staff required us to do. So we have a 50% buffer to ensure that queuing works on the site. Not to say that we don't have lots of opportunities for operational changes as a part of a school. Building meets all of the 5C requirements. Very, very beautiful, large porches, which again are compatibility requirements to ensure compatibility within the rule tier. We meet those obligations of the site. Beautiful building, and we've worked over the months, and your staff obviously has concurred with that. This is a view from Indiantown Road. Now, please understand, we're 290 feet away from the Indiantown Road right-of-way, and we're proposing a substantial buffer. So our goal is you don't see this from Indiantown Road. But just to give you an idea, that's what the view would be if there were no buffer on Indiantown Road. All of our other buffers also exceed every numerical requirement of your code. Again, we meet every objective criteria of your code. So our closest setback, only at a small point to our residential boundary to the east, with a very, very large buffer, is 87 feet, 125 feet to the gymnasium, 500 feet plus or minus, 493 to the gymnasium building to the south, and again, 205 to the Sir Wicket Canal, but about 290 feet to Indiantown Road itself. These are the cross sections that are there. We're providing very, very ample buffer. Our plans will exceed minimum code requirements. We've agreed to that. our buffer to the east. This is the smallest point at 88 point, very, very dense buffer, and that's to a porch, not to the main building. 125 feet at the gymnasium, and a 144-foot buffer, but 493 feet to the first building along the south boundary, and that's the preserve area that exists within that area. There's a lot of discussion about the Jupiter Farms area plan, and there's a lot of discussion suggesting that this project is not consistent with the Jupiter Farms area plan. This plan is 32 years old, so understand it's not been updated for quite some time. It's an old plan, but we're going to represent to you that we are, because schools were always anticipated within this area, particularly a high school and middle school. And for you to understand the facts, 62% of every child that goes to public school in Jupiter Farms leaves Jupiter Farms every single day. 100% of every middle school student, 100% of every high school students, they leave. 991 students a day from the public school, documented by the school board. That doesn't include what we believe is about 300 private school students that leave every single day that would potentially have the opportunity to come here. That's 6 in 10 out of every student that lives in Jupiter Farms today leave. 100% leave the farms. There's also this discussion or this thought process that perhaps our schools our capacity is available now because school population is in decline. Not in this area. Not in this area. Again, the Dwyer High School, Jupiter High School, both where Jupiter Farms residents go, 550 some students. They're at maximum capacity. Jupiter High School has more portables than any school in all of Palm Beach County, the Independence Middle School in Abacoa. But this also goes to show where the reach is. Schools, they go out. Jupiter Farms goes all the way out to the northern part of Palm Beach Gardens, the southern part of Jupiter, and into Cuesta. And 100% of the private schools are at maximum capacity with waiting lists that are years long. People put their kids on the waiting list when their children are first born. So this is not a regional use. Your plan clearly defines it. It defines what is not. This is not it. Schools are explicitly considered within the institutional category in all land uses. And it's also important to understand that local does not mean just the 33478 zip code, which is the area of Jupiter Farms, the area west of I-95. It does not. Clearly defined not only by the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan, but clearly by the actual what occurs. We've got students going out, and schools have been anticipated. The Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan anticipated schools, middle school and a high school, are things that have been desired for years. You all know that middle schools are probably 1,200 students. That's the smallest one in Palm Beach County. High schools are at least 2,200. Jupiter's 3,300. Support. I know you've got a number of letters in your file that from the public that are in opposition, but we have submitted for the record over 300 individual letters of support for this project. Good number of them from the area code letters from the BDB, who indicate the importance of these type of schools for economic development, and our area churches in Jupiter Farms have indicate that their congregates would desire to have opportunities to go through the school. I'm going to let Pete go ahead and come up right now. Pete, if you'd come up and walk us through the ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Commissioners, for the record, Pete Hoffines with Cutler and Herring. Mr. Herring walked you through the site. My job is to take you through the conditional use criteria. 6 policies really govern what we're looking to do here. Let's see. How do we go? There we go.
I just wanted to let you know you've got 5 minutes left of your time to speak, too, in case you needed to tweak what you're presenting.
Okay. When you look at the broad language of the code, 6 policies govern what we're doing here. They sort into 3 simple questions. Is the use allowed? Is the intensity appropriate? And how is compatibility secured? I'm going to take them in that order. Is the intensity appropriate? Policy 2.2.1M lists the non-residential uses permitted in a residential designation, and it names institutional uses. designed to serve the residential areas. Schools are the first in the example. So whether a school belongs in this designation was never really the question. The policy also says a project may be refined to be appropriate in size, scale, and character, and that is exactly what the conditional use process have done. Mr. Herring walked us through all of that. Policy 1.4A, is the intensity appropriate? This directs the county to protect the rural tier, and it's the fourth measure in this one, that's the operative one. Ensuring development is compatible with the scale, mass, intensity, and height of the rural community. Every one of those is something the county actually measures, and the project is within all of them. Our floor area ratio, building coverage sit below the maximums, height meets the code, setbacks run many times the minimum, and more than 2/3 of the site is open space. On every factor, we meet the code. Rural design standards. Policy 14G is the design standard. It requires rural architecture, durable materials, protection of the tier's character, and minimized impacts on the neighbors. The project answers each: pitched roofs, articulated facades, standing seam metal roof, low-rise profile and muted tones, and deep landscape buffers. And on this one, there's no daylight between us and staff. Staff confirmed Article 5C. Our architecture complies. Policy 2.21N. So how is compatibility secured? This is answered directly here with this policy. More intense non-residential uses may be allowed in a residential district along major thoroughfares. We have Indiantown Road. The site fronts on that. It takes its access from Rocky Pines, which is not an interior residential through street. And the policy's second half, compatibility, is done through conditions. This is exactly how we built this project. A 980 student cap, no field lighting, no PA system, dark sky lighting, and staggered schedule. Those aren't promises, those are conditions. 2.210, schools are not on the list of discouraged uses. The plan tells us what non-residential uses are discouraged. Regional water and wastewater plants, power transmission, correctional facilities, solid waste sites. A school's not on that list, and that's the point of this slide. Standard B, consistency with the code. 4.1 doesn't prohibit a school here. If anything, it points to the exact opposite. Recommendation R10 in the Jupiter Farms area plan points to the same. R5B and R5C support citing a school, a middle and future high school in the Jupiter Farms area, and the plan's own stated goals include that. The neighborhood plan identifies the need exactly for what we're proposing. So to conclude, putting the policies together, the picture is consistent. Schools are named permitted use. Institutional uses are allowed across land use designations. Our scale, mass, intensity, height are all within the adopted measures. On the criteria, the plan actually sets, our proposed use is consistent. Standard B, consistency with the code. I think Don walked us through that. We are compliant with every one of the requirements of the ULDC. Standard C, surrounding uses. Compatibility with surrounding uses. You've already seen the aerial, so I'm going to be brief. Across Indiantown Road is the motor coach, 50 sites. To the west is Bush Wildlife. It's institutional, quasi-commercial. To the south is the nursery. The land around the site is already a mix of uses, so a school siting here is completely appropriate. Go ahead and skip that one. Development pattern. Standard F asks whether this is a logical, orderly development pattern, and the enrollment numbers answered it. Don touched on that. Jupiter Farms runs at 643 students with a 713 capacity. If we add in the 104 students that attend Jerry Thomas, Limestone Creek, and other elementaries, that would bring Jupiter Farms Elementary over capacity. So a K through 12 school here isn't a departure from the pattern. It's a logically responsive. If we were to put a wall around the Jupiter Farms zip code, the children in there would have no access above a 5th grade education.
Thank you. And there's going to be no comments or no. Audience, will you stop it? Your time is up. Thank you. And I'm going to say that we've got a full house. We want to hear everybody, but I'm going to ask that you all act professional and a sense of decorum. There'll be no clapping, no heckling, no laughing on either side, or we will ask you to be escorted out. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do brief staff presentation. There are 8 criteria that are actually being evaluated this application on, not 6. So, and staff is recommending denial for failure to comply with standard consistency with the plan, compatibility with surrounding uses, design minimizing adverse impacts, development pattern, and change circumstances. So those are the criteria that we found inconsistent and not compliant that we're recommending denial on. So I can turn it over to staff to do a brief summary. I know planning might have some comments on the evaluation they did on the plan. So.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Matthew Boyd with the Zoning Division. As stated, this is application CA 2025-956 Calvary Chapel Christian School. It is located at the southeast corner of Indian Town Road and Rocky Pines, currently located within the rural residential future land use, as well as the agricultural residential zoning district. It is 19.46 acre site, located primarily within low density single family residential. The site, as stated by the applicant, consists of 2 major buildings. Building A being a 2-story elementary and secondary school, housing 101.
Matthew, maybe you can skip straight to the standards, please.
Okay. The standards that we are recommending denial based on that they do not meet our consistency with the plan, compatibility with surrounding uses, design minimizes adverse impact, and development pattern and changed conditions and circumstances. I'll defer to planning in regards to the consistency with the plan. Compatibility with surrounding uses are focused on the scale, height, and operational demands of the proposed school, exceeding what is appropriate with the surrounding residential context. In regards to the development pattern, in regards to the design minimizes adverse impact, the applicant stated that 68% of the site is developed. However, based on the site, 80% of the site is approximately development area, with primarily 25% of the site being preserved. While that does meet the requirements that has stated for upland preserve, that exceeds the density and intensity of a site or surrounded by this level of residential development. And following with that, development patterns, same thing in regards to the development patterns. This institutional use is allowed within this residential zoning district, but based on its intensity, would exceed something of a use at this site. Changed conditions and circumstances, the applicant does state the need for a school here, and states the capacity levels for the neighboring schools within the Jupiter Farms and Town of Jupiter area. However, staff does not agree as that this demonstrates any change in regards to the use and what necessitates this use. At time of publication, staff has received over 500 contacts from the public, primarily in opposition. The applicant has stated that staff received 300 in support. However, we will need to confirm if we have received that or not. Right now, we've received about upwards around 20 in support. We are requesting denial. However, if the zoning board decides to recommend approval, we do have conditions limiting them to the 980 students, as well as other conditions from their respective agencies. Thank you.
Travis, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. Good morning, Travis Goodson with the Planning Division. I'll just quickly state on behalf of the Planning Division with regard to consistency with the comprehensive plan. I think it's important to remember some of the crux of this is because this site is located within the rural tier. The county has different geographical areas, urban, suburban, which is supposed to accommodate the bulk of the population and densities and intensities. You have the rural and ex-urban tiers that transition to exactly what they are, the rural areas, larger lots, less intense uses. And the intent and the goal of the rural tier is to help preserve and protect those areas from the encroachment of urban type densities that may be more appropriate in the urban tier. And so when we look at some of the rural tier policies, particularly policy 1.4-A, there's a standard in there that says it's providing services and facilities that are consistent with the character of the area. And going by what the applicant has submitted in their justification, stating things like there's been an increased growth of population in Jupiter Farms. We haven't been able to substantiate that because there's been no new subdivisions since 2014. And then going by the officially put out decennial census data, we couldn't show a growth of more than 1,000 people in the last 10 years. So just going by what the applicant has said, that there's a demand for this, we don't see it coming from Jupiter Farms. It's not coming primarily from the rural tier. It could, but it tends to be serving at a larger area than what the rural tier was intended to do. And then it does meet, zoning's decided it does meet determined it does meet the rural tier design standards and such like that, but the entire campus at 127,000 square feet rivals the Jupiter Farm Shopping Center, which the applicant had mentioned is a large shopping center, and it is about 190,000 square feet. And so we're looking at a single use in a rural area at 127,000 square feet, almost 1,000 students. It just doesn't appear to be appropriate, in planning's opinion, to demonstrate consistency with the rural character and facilities and services that that area needs to have.
Thank you. Do we want to have the applicant come up and respond, or do we want to start with comments?
I'll defer to the applicant, but I'm thinking you might want to do the public comments
And then
so they can do a response in its entirety at the end.
Okay. Don's coming up anyhow.
We would agree with that.
Oh, okay. And I have a question for the attorney. We have, and we want to give everyone the right to speak, but we have a tremendous amount of cards, this much cards that everybody wants to speak to. And so we are going to ask for 2 minutes and limit, and can we limit the amount of people that speak, or?
Well, so, no, everybody gets the chance to give the comment. You can limit the time. You have the discretion. Usually we give 3 minutes, but considering the number of comments, you can reduce that time. You said 2 minutes, that's fine. But no, everybody should be given the opportunity to speak. I think if things get repetitive, I would hope that the commenters would just come up and say, I agree with the prior comments, I'm in support, or I disagree, I'm opposed. But, everybody gets their 2 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. And both podiums work?
Yes, both podiums. And just a reminder, we do have interested parties in another room. So when you call their name, we're going to probably need time to make sure that they enter the room. So.
Okay. All right. So with that, what I was going to ask is that we call two people up. One will start at one podium, one will start at the other to help avoid too much delay in the queuing. And I just want to reiterate, I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions either side, and we want to hear those, but I can't stipulate enough that I need a sense of professionalism in the room. We will ask you to be escorted out if you start to heckle, laugh, clap. Just please keep that to yourself. Let's be respectful on both sides. Thank you.
Do you have any cards that are representing a group?
I don't know. There wasn't we had received a note from you, an attorney that wished to speak.
Okay.
I don't know who that attorney is.
Okay.
Oh, you would like to come up? Did you put a comment card in? Okay.
Good morning, Robert Hartzell, Hartzell Ozeri, PA, 61 Northeast 1st Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. I appear here on behalf of Jupiter Farms Residents Association in opposition to the application of the Calvary Chapel School. Under Florida's Growth Management Act, Section...
I'm going to stop you just for one quick second. I'm sorry. They did ask to give you more time since we reduced it to 2. I just wanted to let you know we're going to give you 10 minutes to speak.
Oh, I was going to be very brief, and if
Then
you have any
better,
questions...
I like it
yeah,
better.
I'll
Okay.
cut it down. I think staff did an excellent job.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
On it.
All right.
Under Florida's Growth Management Act, 163-3194, all development orders must be consistent with the comprehensive plan as adopted by the County Commission. A conditional use, as you have here, that fails to meet this standard is legally impermissible, regardless of whether it satisfies some of the minimal standards in your ULDC. That is precisely the situation you have here today. Now, county staff has conducted a thorough analysis, and I know your staff, and they do a bang-up job, sometimes on my side, sometimes on the other side, but they really do a thorough analysis. And here, they did a thorough analysis and found that it's inconsistent with the comp plan and the ULDC. Based on competent substantial evidence from your staff, this application fails 5 of the 8 required standards under ULDC Article 2.B7B. Each failure independently constitutes grounds for denial of this application. Now let me focus on the comprehensive plan because that's my favorite stuff. First, flu objective 1.4 that was brought up earlier in policy 1.4-A. It requires that development within the rural tier it needs to be compatible with the scale, the mass, the intensity, and the character of the rural community. At 127,831 square feet on 18.58 acres, serving 980 K-12 students, this campus exceeds the footprint of the Publix, anchored in Jupiter Farms, the community shopping center's largest single building. This is massive. Staff's own analysis confirms that the proposed intensity is more comparable to a commercial low office designation, a category that's intended for significantly more intense non-residential activity. That is not rural tier compatibility, that is rural tier transformation. Second, policy 2.2.1-M. This permits the institutional uses within the residential land use designations only when they are designed to serve the residential area and are of appropriate size and scale. Staff found that the report supports that this school's student draw extends far beyond the Jupiter Farms boundaries. The applicant the applicant's own zip code study confirms that the enrollment will be pulled from Palm Beach Gardens to Kesta, Hope Sound, and even Stewart. The regional private school campus is not a neighborhood serving institutional use and fails under this policy. It is inconsistent. Third, the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan. It's old, but it stands and it's good. And it's adopted into the comprehensive plan by reference. It expressly requires that non-residential development be neighborhood-oriented and not depend solely on users from outside the Jupiter Farms planning area. The applicant cannot satisfy that standard when its own congregation data shows that the majority of the prospective students come from outside Jupiter Farms. Fourth, on the change condition standards, the applicant has pointed to public school capacity figures and population growth. But staff's own census analysis that was testified to earlier found that Jupiter Farms grew by lower than 1,000 people over 14 years. We have not seen that anywhere in South Florida. The last subdivision approved in Jupiter Farms was in 2014, creating 30 lots. There is no credible demographic basis for nearly a 1,000 student private campus at this location. Applicants controlled design revisions, reducing the enrollment from approximately 1,200 to 980, adjusting buffers, are not external to the changed circumstances. They are negotiating positions. They are not satisfying the legal standard that you have to look at with consistency with the comp plan. Commissioners, under Irvine v. Duval County Planning Commission, you must have competent substantial evidence to make your decision. Staff has provided that to you in their 91-page staff report of why this is inconsistent with the comp plan, it's inconsistent with the ULDC, and should be denied. Thank you, and we look forward to the long day.
Thank you. So we'd like to have Matthew Gitkin come up. He's representing Calvary, and he gets 5 minutes to speak.
I don't believe he's representing.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
no.
you, but I'm not representing
I'm s-
Cavalry.
I-
I represent the 592 emails that you got from Jupiter
Oh, I'm
Farms
sorry.
residents.
I saw the item. I apologize. I saw the item number on there. I apologize.
So, good morning, Chair and members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Matthew Gitkin. I'm the Secretary of the Jupiter Farms Residents Association, and I'm speaking on behalf of the 592 emails that, as of this morning, you've received, all opposing the project. I'm asking you to follow staff's recommendation to deny this conditional use. This is not a vote against a school in the abstract. This is a vote on whether this particular approval is appropriate for this particular place. The staff report is clear that the answer is no. Staff found that the application fails on multiple required standards. It fails to maintain consistency, it fails to be compatible, it fails to minimize adverse impacts, it fails to maintain development pattern, and it shows no changed condition or circumstance. The scale of this project is only one of the central problems. A K through 12 private school on 18.5 acres serving 980 students with a 127 square foot profile, parking, play areas, related facilities. Staff has concluded that this intensity is out of character with the rural tier and the surrounding Jupiter Farms community. The same thing that we told the applicant on day one back in September. Just to compare, our A-rated Jupiter Farms Elementary School currently serves 630 students on 60 acres. This project is 5 times as dense. Technical compliance does not make a project compatible with the rural tier. The comp plan requires development in the rural tier to protect rural residential, equestrian, agricultural, and open space character, and to ensure that development is compatible with the scale, mass, intensity, height, and character of our rural community. Staff found that this proposal does not do that. In fact, staff compared the proposal building to the size of nearby facilities and concluded that the campus is more intensive than the commercial context and than the context can absorb. The neighborhood plan matters. Palm Beach County Board of Commissioners approved it, and they accepted it, and it supports neighborhood-oriented non-residential uses only when they do not depend primarily on people from outside the area and remain consistent with existing rural character. Staff found that the proposal is not neighborhood-oriented and would definitely draw students far beyond the perimeters of Jupiter Farms, making it a regional institutional use, not a community-serving rural use. Staff found that there's no demonstrated change in condition that justifies the scale. The applicant cited population growth. Staff reviewed the data and found that we grew by fewer than 1,000 people over 14 years. Student enrollments have been trending down now for years. It does not support a nearly 1,000 student campus in this location. Applicants cited private school demand, but staff found no credible evidence of a shortage of private school capacity that would require this project here. An increase of fewer than 1,000 people over 14 years shows that the area is maintaining its established pace rather than experiencing rapid growth as claimed. I also want to note the extraordinary community response. At the time that these comments were being prepared, your staff and commissioners have received more than 590 emails in opposition from Jupiter Farms residents, from people who actually live there in the community. That number matters because it reflects deep, sustained, and widespread concern from the people who will live with the consequences of your decision. Even their traffic analysis cannot solve the planning problem. Staff acknowledges that some roadway impacts can be conditioned and that some concurrency standards may be met, but traffic adequacy is not the same as compatibility, consistency, or good planning. This commission must decide whether its use belongs here, not merely whether roads can be widened around it. For all these reasons, I respectfully ask the commission to uphold the staff's recommendation and to deny this application. The right decision is to protect the rural tier, respect the neighborhood plan, and preserve the character of Jupiter Farms. The staff report in front of you says in great detail that this is simply too large, too intense, and too out of character. The question is not whether a school is good use in the abstract. The question is whether this school, at this scale, belongs in this location, in this rural neighborhood. And the record before you says no. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, first of all, we have a card in support, a person in the overflow room, Thomas A. Your last name begins with an R, looks like YP, but I can't read the handwriting. So if you want to come forward. And then an AJ Kratz. Would you like to come forward to speak? No. Okay. Is Thomas here? He was in the overflow room?
It'll take a little bit for him to get here, so if you want to just call out another name, too.
Don Anderson? Kelly Reel?
And when you come to the podium, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Does this adjust?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kelly Reel, and I live at 1050 West 25th Street here in Palm Beach County. This is my daughter, Amara. I do apologize. I was trying to keep her quiet. The reason that we're here today is because we want to show our support for Calvary Christian School. We have been longtime members of Calvary Church for 12 years. I do also have 2 older children who graduated from the Palm Beach County school system in 2022 and 2024, respectively. She was a surprise, as you can imagine. I understand what it is like to put children through the Palm Beach County school system and how crucial it is to have the opportunity to have the option and the choice for a school like Calvary Christian. Within the church, I had the opportunity for many years to serve within several different ministries at the church, and so I can speak to the impeccable standards that the church holds for everything that they do, and especially when it comes to their interactions with children. We hold a special place in our heart for children, and I know that those standards would certainly roll over into how they conduct themselves with the school and the kind of education that would be provided. We just stand here today because, again, we want to show that the idea of the school isn't just the shadow of an idea of children, but there are actual faces and names of children that would benefit from the school, this one being one of them. And I would just ask that you guys take that into consideration when making your decision on allowing the school or not, because there are certainly children that would benefit from the existence of the school, her being one of them. And so I just thank you guys for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Are you Thomas?
My name's Thomas Ruggiero. I'm a resident of Jupiter Farms. I've been going to Calvary Church for 5 years, and I am a CEO of a business called Ruggiero Investments based in West Palm Beach. We have offices in West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, Melbourne, Florida, and New York. And I say that because I'm interested in job creation and seeing that the area sees economic development. I look at this plan as a layman and a churchgoer, but as a layman and a resident. And I think it comes down to, I hear a lot about where the status quo of where the community is now, but I don't hear anything about future growth or future infrastructure. And what I see here is church has done a lot of work on creating infrastructure as it pertains to roads, buffers on Indiantown Road that you won't see this. So I just don't see how people could be closed-minded by looking at the status quo where we're at right now. And I think they've done a tremendous job in what you can see. I think the campus is something that everyone could be proud of once you come in there and look at it once it's built. So I'm in support of it. I'm greatly impressed as far as a person who's been in business. I worked in Wall Street for 36 years. And I can tell you, looking at this, it's first class. They've done their homework, and it'll be a campus that everybody could be proud. I will say this, that my last comment is that you received over 500 emails in opposition. I think that probably represents somewhere only in the neighborhood of 3 to 4% of the residents of Jupiter Farms.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thanks.
Don Anderson?
Yes.
Can you state where you live?
I live on Mellon Lane, 16890 Mellon Lane in Jupiter Farms.
Okay. Go ahead.
I've been blessed to actually have lived in Jupiter Farms twice. The first time was in 2006 when I moved my family of 5 children from New York. At that time, I only knew that I needed a good school district and to be in a decent commute to work in West Palm Beach, and that landed me in Jupiter. But I knew nothing about Jupiter Farms and very quickly fell in love with it. I remember driving home from work, driving through the canopies of trees and just decompressing after the day and being considering myself very blessed to be able to live in that neighborhood. Unfortunately, I lost that house due to a divorce, but when I had another opportunity to be a homeowner in 2019, I quickly learned that there's not any other place like Jupiter Farms. And I'm proud to say that I'm back again since 2019 and absolutely love it. And that's why I had to come here today and at least try and convince you guys not to approve this school. I'm not against education in any way. I have 5 children, and I believe it's important. Or Calvary having a school. I just don't believe that it fits here in our community. That big of a school with that many students is going to cause crazy traffic. It's going to ruin us being able to see the beautiful stars at night. It's all the reasons why we live there. Not to mention that they're going to use the water from our aquifers. So please, don't approve this request and before it takes away what we love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karina Estrada and Susan Wright. If you could both come up.
Hi, my name is Karina Estrada, and I'm a Jupiter Farms resident for the past 23 years, and I'm opposed to this. It's going to bring a lot of traffic. It's going to stop be able to see the sky, the animals, the wildlife, bush wildlife. It's larger than the public shopping center. I oppose this vehemently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Susan Wright. I live on Keystone Drive in Jupiter. I'm a retired teacher and administrator with over 30 years of experience serving the grades from grades K through grades 12. I also continue to serve as a substitute teacher here in Palm Beach County, and I'm speaking today in support of the Calvary Christian School. Throughout my career in education, I've had the opportunity to work with thousands of students and families. One thing I have consistently observed is that schools that intentionally partner with parents and focus on character development produce positive outcomes, not only for students, but for families and communities as well. Christian education places a strong emphasis on responsibility, integrity, service, respect for others, and personal accountability. These are values that help students become productive citizens, strong leaders, and caring members of the communities. Calvary Christian School's vision is not only to educate students academically, but also to help develop young people who are prepared to make a positive difference in the world. As I reviewed the application, I was encouraged to see that the applicant has worked diligently through the county's review process. The plans have been revised in response to feedback, enrollment has been reduced, buffering has been increased, and traffic improvements have been incorporated. Those efforts demonstrate a commitment to being responsible long-term neighbors within the Jupiter Farms area. I was also struck by the fact that the adopted Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan repeatedly recognizes the importance of schools and encourages elementary and secondary schools within the near community. The plan acknowledges that schools are an important component of the community's quality. Whether a family chooses public education, private education, homeschool education, or Christian education is a personal decision. However, the question before the board is whether a school is an appropriate use within the Jupiter Farm.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay.
Meredith Toher and Joshua Fleming.
So, yeah, if she wants to speak, she can speak. If not, she can't give her 2 minutes to
Somebody
to
else.
someone
Okay.
else.
So did you want to speak? You can't defer. No? Okay.
Dan Logan.
Go ahead, sir. You may go. You may go.
Hey, folks, thank you. My name's Josh Fleming. I live in Jupiter Farms with my wife, 5 kids. We run a small equestrian business. I have prepared comments, but before I went into business, I was a high school math teacher and a math professor, and I just want to share some of the numbers that have been presented on population growth are very misleading. I want to clarify that for you for a moment. The issue is that census is only done every 10 years, so the official census data is very stale. You have to rely on estimates. Last census was around 2020. From 2020 until today, we've seen the largest internal migration in the United States since the Dust Bowl. We all know much of that has come from the Northeast to Florida. You have to bear that in mind. Looking at estimates, when the Jupiter Farms community plan was written, Jupiter Farms had around 8,000 residents. Today, again, this is relying on estimates from local real estate firms. What I'm seeing is around 13,500 to 13,700. Those are not official numbers, but they are quite reasonable. So you're looking at population growth from when this plan was written to today, something around 86%, right? Again, not official numbers, but you need to bear that in mind. The numbers you're seeing are not giving you a complete picture of the reality today. The last thing I'll highlight in the 49 remaining seconds, on April 18th, the Wall Street Journal ran an article describing the shortage of private schools in South Florida, in Palm Beach County specifically. A lot of companies that have moved down in the last 5 years are trying to draw in top executives and top talent, and those folks are not coming because they don't have good private education options. Specifically, the article mentions that there's a multi-year waiting period. In my view, the school solves that problem, serves a need that our community currently has. Excuse me, I've gone off my prepared notes, so I'm going to stop right there, but I think the idea gets across. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Dan Logan. I live on Rocky Pines Road. I'm a product of private school education, kindergarten through 12th grade. I went to Holy Name, which is on Military Trail in West Palm. I went to Cardinal Newman, which is on Spencer Drive between Okeechobee and Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. And so I understand the value of Christian education. I don't oppose that. But what I oppose is the location of the school. Holy Name was on Military Trail. Cardinal Newman is on Spencer Drive. They're in the city. Nobody's mentioned today, we talked about the school is located on Indiantown Road. Well, it's fronting Indiantown Road, but its sole access is a dead-end rural residential street. So all of us that live on Rocky Pines Road are effectively going to be imprisoned twice a day, 5 days a week, for 2 hours at a time. And so I respectfully, while I support Christian education vehemently, I respectfully oppose the location of this school. It's too intense. And finally, in 2019, we all came here, and staff properly recommended denial of a soccer complex. This board supported their recommendation and denied the application, as well as the county commission. They denied the application appropriately. And this school is tenfold the intensity of a soccer complex. And so we ask that you guys likewise follow the recommendation of staff and deny this because of the location. It's too intense for the location. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stephen Eakins and Patty Greenier.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Good morning, Commission members. My name is Steve Akins. My family and I live at 17472 Rocky Pines Road.
Oh, can you speak into the mic, please?
I live at 17472 Rocky Pines Road. And I'm here to respectfully oppose the Calvary Chapel Christian School application and ask you to support staff's recommendation for denial. We purchased our property in 2016. We did not come here looking for an urban lifestyle. We came here because Jupiter Farms is different. It's rural, and the community still values animals, agricultural, quiet roads, and a rural way of life. This application threatens that. Staff's report is clear. The proposed school does not meet multiple required standards. We are not opposed to education. We are not opposed to faith. We are not opposed to development of this land for its current zoned use. However, we are opposed to placing an extremely large use in the wrong location, in the middle of a rural, residential, and equestrian community. Jupiter Farms, especially Rocky Pines, is not vacant land waiting to be rezoned and developed. It is a community people have sacrificed for, invested in, and built their life around. I respectfully ask that you protect the rural tier, protect Rocky Pines, and protect the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan, and support staff's recommendation for denial. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Patty Greener. I live at 17854 121st Terrace North in Jupiter Farms, 33478. My husband and I have lived in Jupiter Farms for over 32 years, and we've raised 9 children in this community. And we are now the proud grandparents of 16 grandchildren. I love this neighborhood and care deeply about its future. I do stand in strong support of Calvary Christian School being built in Jupiter Farms. Our neighborhood plan has long encouraged additional schools, and there is a real need here, especially for my grandchildren and the other children of the community. Right now, many families, including 4 of my own grandchildren, must leave our own community every morning and drive into town, into Palm Beach Gardens for school. Those daily morning and afternoon drives are a real burden on us, on parents, and the children alike. I feel that a well-run school in Jupiter Farms would reduce that strain, give children more time for study and family, and help strengthen neighborhood life. Calvary Christian School has worked with the residents throughout this process, and the proposal has gone through extensive county review, and I feel the school has been a good neighbor. They've had many meetings with the residents, they've revised their plans, and they respond to the community concerns. They've improved safeguards, added buffers, and setbacks, and they reduced the enrollment request to address those worries. These are concrete changes, and they listened and acted in good faith. For the sake of our children and grandchildren, and for the betterment of our community, I urge you to vote yes for Calvary Christian School. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Renea Hunter and Lisa Tobin.
Good morning. You may begin.
Hi, good morning. My name is Renee Hunter. I am here as someone who came from a small Christian private school.
Come a little closer to the mic.
Oh, yes, thank you. My name is Renee Hunter, and I am here as someone who came from a hard family, a family that didn't have any education. No one expected me to go to college or any of my sisters. And I got the opportunity to go to a small Christian school like this, and it changed my whole life, my whole family's life. When I started school, I had a severe learning disability, and I couldn't really even read when I started that school. And they brought me up, and as I was bringing my homework home every night, my dad would help me as my mom cooked dinner, and by the time my sister was going to go to college, because she had also attended the school, my dad, he also, he had no educational background, but he had been helping us with homework. He also enrolled in a mechanical engineering program at our university, and it completely changed our lives forever. I became the first student at a very prestigious engineering school where I went that actually entered the school and enrolled in differential equations because I was so far ahead of all of the other kids. And I was also tutoring so many kids along the way as I switched from the private school to public school. The evidence that has been presented for the inconsistencies have been very subjective, and I think you guys need to understand that you're really kind of making a life sentence for so many families like mine.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Tobin, and I live at 17428 Mellon Lane. I don't have anything to say that you haven't already heard. I'm in opposition of this project. I think it's inappropriate for the space. I think it's impactful when you sit with they failed 5 out of 8 standards. I think that's really something to think about. I don't think anybody's opposed to an opportunity to have a school, education for children. Again, it's not about that. It's about this is an inappropriate space. It's an inappropriate project. They have not met the community standard that's required for our lovely Jupiter Farms. So I ask you to really take that into consideration when you're making your decision. I think that your staff has made it really appropriate recommendation to deny this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Andrew Chen and Michelle Jertson.
Want me to go? Good morning, members of the board and neighbors. My name is Michelle Jertson. I live on 150th Court North, and that's the last street on the farms. That's 12367, by the way. My family has lived here for the past 10 years. Over the last decade, I've watched our community grow. Nearly every new home that has been built has brought new families and children into Jupiter Farms. I've seen older families move and start different ventures, and new families move in. As our community continues to grow, many families are looking for additional educational opportunities closer to home. I also believe this project would bring economic benefits to our community. The school is expected to create dozens of professional jobs, providing opportunities for talented educators, administrators, and staff members who already live in Jupiter Farms and would welcome the opportunity to work close to home and alongside their children. At the end of the day, I hope we can focus on the benefits the school can bring, come together as a community like we did with Bush Wildlife, educational opportunities for families, local jobs, community investment, and a place where children can learn, grow, and thrive. I respectfully ask for your support of this application. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me? I have time.
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good morning to the commissioners. Thank you for your offering me this chance to comment. I live at 12301 157th Street North in Jupiter Farms, and I oppose this project. There's a lot of great arguments on both sides here, and Mr. Herring has presented a very nice, polished case. But I urge the commissioners to look closely at what he claims. For example, a half-mile worth of staging area on the paved area within the proposed project only represents enough room for 120 cars to park with sufficient space to safely maneuver in and out of that space. For the size of this project, that guarantees a backup on the streets. And while some of that may be addressed by improvements proposed on Indian Town Road, it doesn't change the fact that it's an enormous impact to the community and particularly residents who live adjacent to that property. Secondly, Others will speak of water management, both the drawing of water out of the ground from the existing aquifers, as well as the disposal of that water. And I think anybody who lives in Jupiter Farms knows that both of those are a significant issue, even for existing residents, even with building just ordinary houses for single-family use. For example, adjacent to us, we had a home that was built recently, which has completely changed the drainage characteristics of our property. I can only imagine what a school the size that is proposed would do to the adjacent Bush Wildlife Preserve and surrounding homes. I think that it's very, very easy to talk about what the benefits are of the school, but I think that the detriments to it far, far outweigh them, and I urge you to follow the recommendations of your planning board. Thank you.
Pamela Parr and Jennifer Ringham.
Just want to bring to the attention that there is a delay in the live streaming, so that's why it takes a little bit longer for the people in the overflow to come forward. So
Okay, thanks.
Is there Jennifer Ringham
Bingham.
and Pamela Parr?
Go ahead. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Bingham, and I live at 6547 Chasewood Drive, Jupiter. I am the aunt of 6 students who live in Jupiter Farms, and I recently earned my Doctorate of Ministry from the King's University. My dissertation research focused on faith-based education and the factors that contribute to the success of students within the schools. As part of that research, I spent considerable time reviewing educational studies, outcomes.
Can you speak into the speaker? You don't have to reiterate what you said, but just, yeah, better, thanks.
Outcomes and best practices. One conclusion consistently emerged: faith-based schools provide benefits for far extend beyond academics. They help students develop character, personal responsibility, leadership skills, and sense of purpose, and commitment to serving others, qualities that strengthen not only the individual students but the entire community. Our one notable study I'd like to talk about is the William Janus Senior Fellow at Witherspoon Institute at Princeton. Dr. Janus conducted a meta-analysis of 90 studies comparing 90 religious private schools, charter schools, public schools, published in the Peabody Journal of Education. His research found that, quote, students attending private religious schools demonstrated the highest levels of academic achievement among the 3 school types, even after controlling for socioeconomic differences. What makes these findings particularly important is that the benefits are not limited to test scores or college acceptance rates. Faith-based schools also cultivate strong family partnerships, encourage civic engagement, promote volunteerism, and emphasize integrity, respect, and service to others, the qualities that contribute to healthier families, stronger neighborhoods, and more connected communities. As I reviewed the application, I was struck by the fact that the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan itself recognizes the importance of schools within the community. The plan specifically discusses providing neighborhood schools, encouraging elementary and secondary schools, and reducing the need for students to leave the community for educational opportunities outside.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much for listening.
Ms. Parr?
My name is Pamela Perret. I'm here on behalf of myself, my husband John Perret, and our family. We live at 17116 122nd Drive North in Jupiter Farms. We had the opportunity to move to Jupiter 5 years ago, and once we found Jupiter Farms, we didn't look anywhere else. Jupiter Farms is unique, and your vote today can help keep it that way. We settled in Jupiter Farms. When we settled into Jupiter Farms, we started to learn more about the history and character of the farms through our neighbors and the community meetings and newsletter. The more we learn, the more we feel invested in preserving the place we have come to love. Although the Calvary School has made accommodations to meet the county requirements, we fear they will not honor their promises in regards to the size, scope, and character of the project over time. For example, changing the multi-use playing field to a football field is a less dramatic change after the land has already been cleared. It's also clear the amount of Calvary students who also live in our neighborhood would be minimal. Majority of the students would come from outside Jupiter Farms, completely upsetting our rural lifestyle. We fear this would not be the only undeveloped parcel in the farms where violations risk spoiling the natural beauty residents have fought so hard to preserve. The traffic impact, the potential for waste, the drain of the aquifer, and the cost of services will be a burden on Jupiter Farms residents, not the tax-exempt religious institution. An increase in taxes permanently impacts the livability in the farms. We urge you to listen to the residents here today and to the professional staff who recommend denial of this permit. Jupiter Farms has carefully protected its character for 32 years in exactly the ways the law demands. Please honor those efforts.
Thank you.
Patrick Westmoreland and Kate Shull.
Go ahead.
Oh, hello, my name is Kate Shaw. I just moved to the farms recently from Canada. All three of my daughters have been a part of a IB private Christian school, and I think it would really benefit the future of our children. I've been a part of the Calvary School now for about 2 years, and I absolutely love what they do for our community. I think this would benefit just so much for us. On behalf of Calvary, I would have to agree that kids, they need faith and they need guidance from really good people and a good community. And I just think that this would be a wonderful future, an educational program in academics to focus on empathy, compassion, and community service. I've seen my daughters and the way they've turned out being in a private school like this, and I just think that it would be very beneficial. We will definitely invest into this school, and I hope many others do, and I hope this really does give you the opportunity to make this development happen for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, maybe if we call 4 up, people can stand behind one another at the
I
podiums.
agree with that.
Is Patrick Westmoreland here? Caroline Yelverton, Joanna Letterman, Angelina Luck, John Kavalanskas. John Kavalanskas. Yes. Okay. You guys want to come up and
Be in queue, so that way we can kind of be efficient. I think you're here up first. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Caroline Yelverton, and I live at 12960 169th Court, and I am a resident of Jupiter Farms. My husband and I chose to build our life and future family in Jupiter Farms because of the unique rural character, sense of community, and the way of life that generations of residents have worked hard to preserve. I am a product of a private Christian education, and I am still in opposition of this proposal. This decision is more than a school. It is about whether we honor the vision established in the comprehensive plan, the rural tier policies, and the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan. County staff has certainly recommended denial because this project is simply not compatible with those adopted standards. A 127,000 square foot campus serving up to 980 students is not a neighborhood scale use. It is a regional destination that would bring hundreds of daily vehicle trips onto roads designed for a rural community. The required traffic signals, turn lanes, water flow and disposal, and roadway modifications necessary to even consider this proposal fundamentally change the character of Jupiter Farms. Most importantly, the applicant has not demonstrated a need that justifies introducing a facility of this size into our rural tier community. Desirability alone is not a standard. compatibility, consistency with our adopted plans, and protection of surrounding neighborhoods and its residents are the standards. As a younger Jupiter Farms resident who intends to raise a family here and chose to show up for my community because I want to defend the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan, I respectfully ask you to uphold the legacy, vision, and protections that made Jupiter Farms the community my husband and I and many others like us chose to call home. Please support staff's recommendation and deny this incompatible application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joanna Letterman, 19058 Southeast Old Trail Drive in Jupiter, and that is a 33478 zip. I'm here as a mother. I'm a mother of 3. I went through the public schools myself. My oldest is now an adult and went through the public schools himself. I choose now to homeschool my younger 2 because there are no good options for my children to go to school, to be taught truth, to be taught values, to be taught morals. I came into this community down here to Jupiter very sick. Who welcomed me in was the Calvary Church. The people that are proposing this are people that are out in the community that don't just talk the talk, they walk the talk. They love on people, they support people, and I think as a mother, as an aunt, as a grandmother, if you know any child in your life, where's the compassion and the eagerness for the next generation? I know, okay, so a little extra traffic, is that not worth our future generation? I mean, and we've proposed they've proposed ways to go around that. And we're in this school, you'd be growing up people to work in the community, to serve the community. We're not putting an education onto people that aren't going to further out into the community, expand to others. We shouldn't be so self-involved where we can look outwards to the future generation and what they can have. One day they will be taking care of us, and we would hope that they have these values that are being stripped from them from social medias and all types of these things. So I am in full favor of this Christian school, and I thank you for hearing my time.
Thank you. Before you begin, we're going to call 2 more on deck. So.
Vivian Oliveira and Jillian Semensky.
Hi, I'm Angelina Luck. I'm a junior at Jupiter High School,
Closer
and
to the
I'm
mic.
in favor.
Sorry, closer to the mic.
Hi, I'm Angelina Luck, and I am a junior at Jupiter High School, and I am in favor for the Calvary School. Over the past few years, I've been going to public school for majority of my life. And for middle school and high school, I've all had to leave Jupiter Farms, which is a 30-minute commute from my home. Jupiter Farms is a wonderful place to live, and I feel that the future would benefit from having a Calvary Christian school in our community. My school at Jupiter High School is over capacity. That is not unknown by many people. We have multiple portables to supply for the influx of extra students, and we need more room. I know that the Jupiter High community, there's a lot of people in Jupiter that go to Jupiter High School, and they would benefit from this school. People have spoken today about traffic studies, site plans, and technical details. These things are important, but I hope you would also consider the students and families who would be impacted by this school. Students face tremendous pressure today. We're growing up in a world filled with anxiety, confusion, division, and constant distractions. Now, more than ever, young people need strong mentors, positive role models, and educational environments that help them develop character, purpose, and faith alongside academics. Calvary Christian School would provide exactly that. As someone who serves at Calvary Church, I can tell you firsthand just how much the church cares about the people in this community. I've watched volunteers give countless hours serving children, supporting families, and helping those in need, and building relationships. This vision for this school serves exactly that desire to serve families and help students. I believe at least a little extra traffic for around an hour at a time would be worth such a tremendous impact to the community.
Thank you. Your time's up. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is John Kavalauskas. I live in Jupiter Farms for a long period of time, and I live due south of the proposed school. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak against it. The managed growth tier system MGTS, adopted in 1999. It's old, but so is the Ten Commandments. Divided Palm Beach County into several tiers of development: urban, suburban, ex-urban, agricultural reserve, and rural. Jupiter Farms is placed in the rural tier. The goals being protection of rural residential, equestrian, agricultural, and open space character. Future land use policy requires facilities to remain consistent with the character of the area in mass, intensity, height, and scale. Florida Statute 163.3194 mandates development must be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposed development does not align with any part of the managed growth tier system rural designation. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you begin, we're just going to call up two more people.
Peyton White and Anna Fisher.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Jillian Semensky, 13018 151st Lane in Jupiter Farms. I'd like to thank the staff for such a thorough report. They pretty much said everything that I would like to say and that other people have said. But the one thing that I haven't heard mentioned yet, we are on well water. And in the plan and in the application, it shows that they will be drawing from the well. Preliminary numbers show it's going to be about 20,000 gallons a day just to serve the students. Their fire rescue, the water that's going to be need to held in reserve, I believe it's for 90 minutes they would need whatever the amount of water it is. And for irrigation is all coming from our wells. What is that going to do to our aquifer in the immediate area? We have residents on both sides of this project that didn't get into depth. I don't know if that's something that happens later in the plan, but you know, when we have dry season out in Jupiter Farms and we're on wells, we pull up sediment. How is this going to affect the neighbors that are immediately? I'm a little bit further away, but I think that also needs to be taken into consideration with everything else that's not right about this project, is the well water. So if you would, I don't know if you'll be discussing that or if that goes further with staff, but I think that's a very important point. And I'm very much in opposition to this location, this project being built in this location. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. My name is Vivian Oliveira. I am a resident of Jupiter Farms. I live in 9400 159 Court North. I am here today to support the proposal of Calvary Christian School. The logic for this project is also for the residents who live at 94 or east of Jupiter Farms Road who are zoning for Jerry Thomas Elementary School outside of our community. And that will support for all of us who live east of Jupiter Farms Road. Before discussing the school, I would like to share what Calvary Church is already doing in our community. My husband and I are raising two children, 6 and 8, here in Jupiter Farms. Calvary Church has been our home church since 2018, and since 2021, I have served as staff at the church. As both a parent and a staff member, I have seen firsthand the positive impact this church has in children and family. Every weekend, Calvary serves approximately 500 children, from newborn through high school students. During the week, more than 200 middle school and high school students attend students gather in our building. Many of those students' families do not attend our service. But they come because they feel welcome, accepted, and supported. This month alone, more than 400 children and students register for our summer camp. Every year, our Fall Family Festival welcomes an average of 700 people from local families from the thought through the community. The church has already demonstrated the community to serve children and family in Jupiter Farms. Week after week, year after year, the program operates successfully without creating significant disruption to our community. I would also like to state that, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Before you begin, we're going to call up two more people. Marilyn
Berrioso and Can't quite read the first name. Is it John Eraso? No. Erazzo.
All right, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Peyton. I grew up in Jupiter Farms, and I currently live on Bridal Lane, which is 1 street away from this project. I'm asking you to deny this application for several reasons. First, according to your own staff report, the application doesn't meet 5 out of the 8 required standards for Class A conditional use in the rural tier. This application should be denied for that reason alone. Second, Rocky Pines is not an appropriate location for a development of this size. The application proposes a school that's very similar in both acreage and population to Limestone Creek Elementary, but on a dead-end road. The surrounding properties are houses, farms, small businesses. It would be one thing if this road wasn't a dead end, but residents, students, teachers, customers, visitors, and vehicles for waste management, mail and package deliveries, and emergency services would all need to use the same entry and exit point. Don't forget the residents trying to leave for work in the morning that will surely get blocked in by parents dropping their kids off at school. Third, approving this application would set a new precedent for development in Jupiter Farms, opening the door to other unwanted large-scale developments. We're rural by choice. We support projects that actually serve the community and respect its rural design. This project does neither. Lastly, the applicant insists that this school serves the Jupiter Farms community, but their own report shows that the majority of expected students come from outside the Jupiter Farms zip code. This is because Jupiter Farms doesn't actually need another school, let alone a private religious school that is for nearly 1,000 students. Jupiter Farms Community Elementary isn't even at capacity for this year. This project isn't proposed for Rocky Pines in order to serve Jupiter Farms. It's just the right size for the right price at the right time.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna. I grew up in Jupiter Farms. I moved to the farms 27 years ago. Like many people who love this community, I've spent years opposing projects that I believe would change what make Jupiter Farms special. I've opposed developments that would add density, increase traffic, and slowly chip away at the rural character that so many of us value. So if you told me years ago that I'd be here in support of a development application, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But I am here today because I believe this is different. I want to start by saying that may surprise people on both sides of this argument is that I know all of us love Jupiter Farms. I don't think that there's anybody in this room that disagrees with that. But the question is whether a school that serves children and families belongs in a community built around families. When I look at this proposal, I do not see a subdivision. I don't see apartments. I do not see warehouses. I don't see commercial expansion or another project that permanently increases population. I see a school, a place where children learn, a place where families gather, a place that invests in the next generation. To me, that is fundamentally different from the types of development many of us have spent years fighting against. I also think it's important to remember that schools are not foreign to Jupiter Farms. Sorry, my voice is, I'm really nervous. We already have schools in our community today, and their presence has not diminished the character, charm, or rural feel of the farms. If schools were truly incompatible with Jupiter Farms, we would have lost that character years ago. Yet people continue to move there, stay there, and work hard to move back there, and I know because I'm one of them. I also know firsthand that many families leave the farms every day for educational opportunities elsewhere, and I was one of those students myself. For 8 years, I left for education. According to census data, Jupiter Farms is home to approximately 2,800 children under the age of 18.
Your time is up. Thank
Okay.
you. Wait 1 minute while we call 2 more people up.
Edwin Barrios and Randy Rianas. Okay. Christopher Becker.
You can go ahead.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Juan Eraso. I'm a Jupiter Farms resident, a parent, and a supporter of school choice. I believe most people here, regardless where they stand today, they want the same thing. We want Jupiter Farms to remain strong, family-centered community, right? We want to protect its character, and we want thoughtful decisions, not careless ones, and we want what is best for the next generation as well. I think so far everyone can agree with all those things. But the question is, like, what does protecting community character really mean? Young families are continuing to move into this area. I'm one of them. And with that comes a real need for more educational options. Parents are looking for schools that align with their children's needs, their values, and the kind of future they want to help build. So I believe protecting community character, it means more than saying no. It also means knowing when to say yes. A strong community makes room for families. It makes room for education. It makes room for children being formed with responsibility, service, character, and purpose, which is something that the school is willing to do. A community is not strengthened only by what it prevents. It is strengthened by what it invests in. Calvary Christian School is an investment in children, families, the future of the community. This is not a proposal for a warehouse. It is not a strip mall. It is not a high-density housing. It is a school, a place where students can learn, grow, build character, and prepare to serve their community. This does not take away from the community. It adds value to it. It gives families options, supports children, and strengthens the future of Jupiter Farms. So I do think it's worth asking one simple question. If you're here in opposition, raise your hand if you currently have children in K through 12th education. Okay. There's two of
you're
you.
not supposed to engage with the
Oh, I'm not supposed to engage. Okay.
All right, and
Well,
your time is up now.
all right,
I'm
thank you
sorry.
very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Barrios, and I live at 16486 Mellon Lane in Jupiter Farms. Been residents with my husband here for 23 years. And again, agreeing with everything, yes, possibly a Christian school would be an excellent addition to Jupiter Farms even. However, in this particular location, where it is, on a dead-end road, on Indiantown Road that goes 55 miles an hour, all right, and also has a lot of traffic buildup in the morning, I would suggest that the people think about the fact that the majority of the students and staff will not be from the farms. Most of this traffic is going to come east via 95 or Turnpike. They will need to drive approximately 3 miles west and then cross the busy eastbound lanes onto Rocky Pines to drop off their children. The traffic backups, school zone slowdowns caused by an additional 1,000 vehicles crossing that eastbound traffic and then re-entering the traffic flow going east will add an additional amount of time for all commuters, especially for communities and businesses to our west. As just in passing, because I've said there's a lot of things that everybody else has said that I agree with, but I'm going to just make a point at the end here, is that Calvary has stated that it would be really nice for their membership to have this school, and it would be a really good thing. It may all seem like a great idea for families attending Sunday services. There doesn't seem to be any traffic problem for their approximate 1,000 members coming to the Jupiter Farm Village on a Sunday morning. Traffic is both light coming west and then going east as they leave after the services. However, during the week that will not be the case. As a resident of Jupiter Farms who spends a lot of
time is up. Thank you.
Anyway, just if Calvary wants to do this for their children,
Thank
then
you.
maybe they should relocate the school.
Wait 1 minute.
Jeremy Adam. Looks like. Tim Ernstener.
Hi, my name is Christopher Becker. My wife Shari and I have attended Calvary Church since 2018. We live on Jupiter Farms Road, 15429. Calvary Church has been an incredible asset to the community for 20 years and have never asked for anything in return. They do it out of the love they have for Jesus Christ. Some may not like the church for their own personal reasons. However, Calvary has been a good neighbor for many, many years, meeting the spiritual and practical needs of the surrounding community. The seller of the property in question had been reluctant to sell for years, but was happy to sell to Calvary Church because they wanted the land to be specifically used for a school. So happy, in fact, the sale price was well below market value. The opposition seems to be opposed to the school no matter what concessions are offered. Early late starts, large buffers, no lights on the field at night, efforts to reduce potential traffic issues, and many other things. Calvary has a proven track record of being considerate to the surrounding community. In my opinion, most objections seem to be fear-based, similar to when the church expanded 8 years ago. And once the fear about the traffic and dark skies and water use subside, I expect the school to be a great asset to the local community, producing Christ-centered citizens, educated in various disciplines, including vocational jobs, which are in high demand. There's nothing controversial about a Christian school located on a main road, situated between two dead-end roads, where there are businesses in every direction. It will not negatively change anything. It will only improve the area. If you can focus on how the church has met your requirements and their proven track record of being a respectful neighbor, I'm confident the school merits unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Randy Renas. I'm the developer of the Palm Beach Motor Coach Resort, a member of the board of directors of the resort, and if I could respectfully request an extra minute or two, because there's a matter of public safety that's kind of been overlooked in this whole thing, particularly as it relates to the traffic.
To give you extra time. I apologize, just because we've got so many
Pardon me?
people. We're going to have to decline to give you extra time because
Okay.
we've got so many people.
All right.
but
So
speak
what you're
quickly.
talking about is a woefully inadequately improved project with respect to the off-sites. You have no traffic light there. We're pulling vehicles out of that motor coach. 750 during season will exit that property. And those coaches are 50,000 pounds. They're 45 feet long if they don't have a tow vehicle. Most of them have a tow vehicle. So that makes them about 64 feet. If they got a stacker, they're at 75 feet long. We have no ingress and we have no egress, no deceleration lane, no acceleration lane. We're right on top of that proposed left-hand turn lane for the westbound going into that school. The risk that this poses to the public and to the people who are going to bring their children to that school, it bothers me. It keeps me up at night to think about what could possibly happen. In your traffic impact study, it doesn't state anything about a motor coach resort and about the vehicles that are coming out of there. They don't accelerate that quickly. It's a 55-mile-an-hour highway, 4 lanes, and with all due respect, I request that you consider the public safety and either make them put the adequate improvements around this project or move it somewhere else.
Thank you. Wait 1 minute. We're going to call 2 more people up.
Amy Knight, Michael Vidakevich.
Go ahead.
My name is Timothy Pernsteiner, and I'm a resident of Jupiter Farms, 10330 159th Court North, and I'm also a member of Calvary Chapel, Jupiter. I respectfully request that the Zoning Commission recommend denial of application CA 2025-956 for the proposed Calvary Chapel Christian School on Rocky Pines Road. My opposition is based on the county's own findings and the adopted policies that protect the rural tier and the Jupiter Farms community. County planning staff has reviewed the application and determined that it fails multiple mandatory approval standards. The proposed school is not a neighborhood serving facility. It's a regional campus designed for nearly 1,000 Christian-only students and more than 125,000 square feet of buildings and facilities. Planning staff found that the project is scaled to serve Palm Beach County and beyond rather than the Jupiter Farms community, and is inconsistent with recommendations contained within the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan. The applicant has also failed to demonstrate the need for a school of this size in Jupiter Farms. County staff found that the local population growth has been limited, existing schools retained available capacity, and no evidence has been provided showing shortage of private school facilities. This decision is not about whether schools are beneficial. It's about whether this particular project at this scale and intensity belongs in the rural tier. It does not. Commissioners, this application is not entitled to approval simply because schools are generally permitted as a conditional use. The burden rests entirely upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with every approval standard contained within Article 2B, 7B of the Unified Land Development Code. Palm Beach County Planning staff has determined the applicant failed to satisfy multiple required standards and is deemed adverse to public interest and should not be approved. For those reasons, I respectfully request that you recommend denial of the application.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Adam. I live on 12368 150th Court North. I'm a resident of Jupiter Farms with my wife and a 3-year-old daughter. My family chose the farms because of its equestrian, agricultural, and rural character, due in large part to the protections established through the Jupiter Farms Neighborhood Plan. I'm here today in opposition of the conditional use permit requested by Calvary Church to build their private school for 980 students. But let me be clear. This is not about an opposition to religion. It's not an opposition to education. It's an opposition to the location and scale of this development. The question before this board is not whether the size of whether the school of this size is compatible with rural land designation, but to that of the long-term vision established for the Jupiter Farms community. And I don't believe it is. The proposed site relies on a single access point on Rocky Pines Road and Indian Town Road, where there's no secondary entrance, no alternative route, where every student, every parent, every teacher, every employee, every vendor, and every visitor will be directed through the exact same intersection for entry and exit. Indian Town Road is a primary eastbound corridor serving Jupiter Farms and neighboring communities, where its road network was really designed for residential traffic disbursement. And with that, not institutional traffic that would occur multiple times a day at peak traffic times every weekday. My concern most in this is due to the applicant's own traffic consultants that have acknowledged that there needs to be significant roadways assigned to this, including expansion of Rocky Pine Road and Indian Town Road, as well as a proposed traffic signal for that intersection. And I understand my time is up, but I would like to again express the request to deny this conditional use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Becker and Michael Howard.
Good morning. Amy Kite, Bush Wildlife Sanctuary CEO, personal address, Randolph Siding Road in Jupiter Farms. The sanctuary itself is located on the southwest corner of Indian Town and Rocky Pines, directly across from the proposed site. Bush Wildlife is a nonprofit wildlife rehabilitation center and environmental education facility. We've been serving Palm Beach County for nearly 35 years. We care for over 5,000 native animals annually, and we are open to the public 7 days a week at no charge to our community, providing environmental education. We are very concerned the proposed school would significantly impact our operations. Based on my review of the application and the staff report, along with my own measurements, widening Rocky Pines Road to county's commercial standard would pressure our frontage, affect our parking, circulation, and access. Our operation depends on safe, reliable access for those bringing animals in need, as well as our visitors seeking free environmental education. Our programs would be under deep distress because of increased congestion during school drop-off and pickup. Bus access is a particular concern. Last year, we served over 18,000 school children, many from Title I schools. If buses cannot safely access our property, turn around and exit, these programs are at risk. This project also creates liability concerns. As an open campus, we cannot prevent unsupervised children from entering or stopping our parking area from being used for school overflow. We cannot restrict access without undermining our mission, nor can we safely absorb these risks. Finally, a Class A conditional use must not alter the character of the area. A project requiring roadway redesign and likely a traffic signal is by definition a change and not compatible with the existing uses of Rocky Pines. Our concerns are compatibility, safety, and our obligation to protect a property entrusted to us for conservation and education.
Your
And we-
time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Becker, 15429 Jupiter Farms Road. I've lived in the farms for 8 years, and I'm speaking in support of this application because I believe it will benefit local families while preserving what makes Jupiter Farms unique. Quality education is one of the most important investments any community can make in its future, and Calvary Christian School's vision goes beyond traditional academics. The school proposes a Christ-centered K-12 education focused on academic excellence, character development, leadership, and practical vocational training. As AI continues to reshape the workforce, the school's emphasis on hands-on skills, technical trades, and career readiness will help prepare students for success in a rapidly changing world. As a small business owner, I find this forward-thinking approach especially encouraging because it addresses the growing need for skilled and adaptable workers. There is a clear need for an additional Christian school option in our area. Currently, Jupiter Christian School is the only local choice, and it has a waiting list of 700 students. The next nearest option is King's Academy here in West Palm Beach, and that requires a daily commute from the farms of 25 to 30 miles each way via 95 or the Turnpike. For 20 years, Calvary Church has been a valued and respected part of our community of Jupiter. When the current church facility was proposed, concerns were raised at that time, similar to lights and traffic and all of these other potential impacts. And Calvary worked with the residents and county officials at that time to address those concerns. And since the new building opened, the anticipated traffic and other negative impacts have not materialized. The church's strong support of local organizations such as Edna Runner Tutorial Center, Hannah's Home, and Sheridan House reflect a genuine commitment to local families and strengthening our community, and this school is a natural extension of that.
Your time is up. Thank you. Before you begin, we're going to call two more.
Meredith Krar, Mary Michaels.
Okay, you may begin, sir.
Good morning. My name is Michael Viktovich. I live at 16219 123rd Terrace North in Jupiter Farms for 6 years. Before you decide, you need to know about Calvary Church's track record. I personally came to the county and did my own research. In 2017, Calvary negotiated over 100 conditions, which I have here, with this board to build their worship center. A decade later, nearly 70 of these conditions are still open. The county monitoring and zoning department admitted they are understaffed, do not perform random checks, and only investigate complaints. Some conditions have no expiration date. Others were marked complete without ever being verified. If they did not comply, Calvary, with the 70 conditions for their last approval, why would they comply to any of the conditions with a larger project? But here's what you already know. Your county staff already denied it. The Jupiter Farms Residents Board raised serious concerns in documents on how the project violates the Rural Tier Agreement, which was designed to protect communities like ours in urban intensity. They have exposed the traffic mitigations failures, property jurisdictions, water and sewer issues, and the conflicts between the school zoning and the neighborhood's plan, which protects and prioritizes low-density residential equestrian use, not for a 1,000-student institution. And as I close, yes, the Rural Tier Agreement might be outdated, but we also have another contract, the United States Constitution.
Your time's up. Thank you so much.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Michael Howard. I live at 13064 153rd Road North in Jupiter Farms, and I ask that you deny this project. I want to applaud the county staff that created this report, as they did a thorough and thoughtful job. When a project requires converting a short local dead-end road to multi-lane, installing traffic light and turn lanes, requires utilizing resources on a much greater scale than the surrounding community, and would negatively impact their neighbors, then it does not qualify for a Class A conditional use and should be denied. Jupiter Farms is 15 square miles, 4 miles along a state road, and has only 2 traffic lights. We are a unique community in a unique area. Rocky Pines Road is a 1-mile dead end maintained by a special district that lacks the authority to manage a road built to Palm Beach County required standards or a school zone. Current traffic on Rocky Pines barely qualifies for a stop sign. A traffic light would only ever be necessary because of a project of this intensity. This would be on one of the largest undeveloped parcels in our community, but that parcel is still only zoned for a single home. The proposed school building would be more than 25% larger than the main building of our community commercial zoned shopping center and completely out of scale with its surroundings. The size and scope of this project is the very definition of creating a negative impact on our community. I ask that you follow the staff recommendation and deny the Class A conditional use request. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you begin.
Michael Moria, Christopher Lozada.
Go ahead.
My name is Meredith Quigley-Carrar, and I'm a lifelong resident of Palm Beach County, a resident of Jupiter since 2000, and a resident of Jupiter Farms since 2016. I live at 12970 179th Court North. I'm here today in support of Calvary Church's application to establish a K-12 Christian vocational technical school. First, I'd like to thank the members of this board, staff, residents, and all sides of this issue. This level of community engagement demonstrates how deeply people care for the future of Jupiter Farms and preserving the qualities that make our community special. I appreciate the efforts of those who have worked to preserve the rural character, the natural beauty of Jupiter Farms. Those efforts have helped shape the community that we enjoy today. However, preserving our community's character and meeting the evolving needs of residents do not have to be mutually exclusive. Calvary Church is not a new organization seeking to enter our community. They have served the families of our community for nearly 3 decades. They have ministry programs, youth programs, outreach. They care for the sick. This proposal comes from a long-standing institution that has demonstrated a genuine commitment to serving our community. As the board considers this application, I believe it's important to recognize that private property rights remain a fundamental part of our land use system. Property owners who comply with applicable regulations and development standards should have a reasonable opportunity to use their property in ways that serve the legitimate community needs. One of those needs is education. While Jupiter Farms has an elementary school option, many families must travel outside of the community for middle and high school education. My boys were some of those children too. I ask that you please approve.
Thank you.
Good morning, board. My name is Michael Moshe. I live on 107th Drive North in Jupiter Farms. I'm here to oppose the project. The applicant in its presentation at one point said, we're going to be totally rebuilding Rocky Pines. And I think that that's just an admission that it's really going to change the character of the neighborhood. The amount of traffic I know a lot of people have already mentioned the traffic, but Indian Town Road already has, it's parts of it can be kind of dangerous at times. There's a lot of times when people need to make left turns that they do so without maybe waiting as long as they should. And I think with the project of this scale, those issues are only going to get worse, especially when you have a motor coach resort right across the street with huge vehicles coming out of there at certain times of the year. And the other thing is it is a dead-end road, so if there is a major incident at that intersection, what's going to happen with that dead-end road? Is it just going to be closed off while the police are investigating? Is everyone just going to be trapped in there for an hour or two until the accident is cleared? I think these are issues that really haven't been fully thought through. And, you know, this board has 8 criteria, and the applicant needs to prove all 8 of those criteria. They've, according to the staff, only proven 3. If they even slightly don't meet one of those criteria, the board is supposed to deny the application. It's not even a slight miss on one of the criteria. They've failed to meet 5 out of the 8 criteria. So I'm asking this board to please deny the conditional use application.
Thank you.
Petra Cruz, Jamie Clark.
You may begin.
I'm Mary Michaels. My address is 11452 169th Court North. I'm a homeowner in Jupiter Farms. I live there with my husband, and I do not live very far at all from the proposed Cavalry School property. I want to address the location of the school on Rocky Pines Road. As you know, this is a 2-lane road that dead ends into 172nd Place North, which is a very narrow dirt road. What keeps me awake at night over this project is that if there's any kind of a medical emergency, fire or active physical violence, and Rocky Pines is not passable due to school traffic, which sounds like twice a day for 2 hours on either side of that parameter, the consequences are going to be unimaginable. Cavalry will tell you that they will widen roads, add turn lanes, add sidewalks. This is a fantasy. Cavalry does not have the authority to do so, and the fact that there will always be a dead end, one way in and one way out, that will never be changed. I'm also going to just add, because what I saw today, the idea that they're going to take away the multi-use bike path and walking path to create a turning lane going west is like absolutely ridiculous. I urge the staff to uphold the recommendation and deny this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Lazard. I live at 17522 Bridal Lane, Jupiter Farms. Thank you to the commissioners. Okay, you're hearing a lot about how Jupiter Farms is so special, and it really is. Raised a family there. It's a really wonderful place to live and raise a family. And the reason for that is because of the zoning that we have been provided, rural residential. Okay, this school does not serve this community, and this school is not necessary. By their very own admission that they put up there, there is not a single public school serving our community at full capacity, not a single one. My daughter is a product of that system. She did fine. And in closing, I want to say this. Jupiter Christian is now proposing fast-tracking a campus less than 3 miles from where they want to put their school in. It's also a private Christian school. We don't need their private Christian school in Jupiter Farms, totally disrupting the rural tier. There's a reason we have been zoned the way we have been zoned, and I ask that we maintain that zoning as in regards to their school. And thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners.
Wait, I'm sorry, wait 1 minute. We're going to call up 2 more people.
Okay. A Karen or Corral Wilkins, Donna Sansone.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Petra Cruz. I live at 12422 158th Court North here in Jupiter Farms. I have 2 children that attend a school 30 minutes away because we do value a Christ-centered education. Therefore, I'm here today in support of the proposed private school because I believe it addresses a real and a growing need within our community. Much of the discussion here today has centered around the Jupiter Farms Neighborhood Plan, a document that was drafted more than 30 years ago. Things have changed all over the world in the past 30 years, especially since COVID. While that plan remains an important guide, it was written in the early 1990s for a different Jupiter Farms than today's. Our community has grown significantly since then, especially since COVID, and the needs of our families have evolved as well. One thing that has not kept pace with that growth is educational choice. We have limited school options within Jupiter Farms, and many families have to spend countless hours each week driving children outside the community for school. Furthermore, since COVID, more parents have become actively involved in evaluating educational options and finding environments that best fit their family needs. The demand for alternatives to traditional public schools is real, and it will continue to grow. As our community changes, we must be willing to consider how to meet the needs of today's residents while preserving the qualities that make Jupiter Farms special. Growth does not mean losing our identity. It can also mean thoughtfully adding services and opportunities that allow families to remain and thrive here. This school would also provide kids to learn vocational trades, which is rare and it's so needed at this time. I understand and appreciate the desire to preserve the rural character of Jupiter Farms. That's why I moved here 6-7 years ago. Many of us love the rural lifestyle, but preserving
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Clark. I live at 13476.
Closer to the mic, please.
150th Court North. I am a resident of Jupiter Farms and have been for about the last 8 years and brought my family here. I have nothing against Christian education. I am a Christian, but this is not the correct location to introduce a school of this size and this density into our rural area. And as regard to the traffic situation, the staff's traffic analysis did not account for the cumulative impact of the many other major projects already slated for the Indiantown corridor, including the proposed 1,200-seat Jupiter Christian campus, the Loxahatchee River District's 20-acre environmental center, and the new mesoscale diagnostics bioscience plant. Taken together, these are not minor additions. They're large, intensive uses that will significantly increase traffic, circulation pressure, and operational strain along the corridor. And if you have any doubt the type of traffic issue this will cause, you just need to go down Haney Lane during the time the school is letting out and picking up. Even the school buses that are attempting to head north on Haney Lane are forced to drive in the southbound traffic lane because of the backlog of cars parked along Haney Lane waiting to pick up their students. It creates a problem for everyone trying to exit the farms. Haney is one of the major roads that take you out to Indiantown Road. And almost everyone who spoke has said that Calvary wants to do this for the community, but I think it's pretty apparent that most of us in the community don't want this. So that kind of negates that argument. And we would respectfully ask that you vote for the recommendation of the staff and deny this project as you have in the past.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
We're going to call up two more before you speak, but you're fine.
Michael Culpepper and Scott Owens.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carol Wilkins, and I am a teacher. I've worked at Jupiter Middle School, and I currently work at Bach MSOA, Middle School of the Arts. They are both public education, and I would like to first address the current backlog of traffic going from I-95 just getting onto the exit of Indiantown Road. I live at 16300 Mellon Lane in Jupiter Farms. It literally takes me 30 minutes just to get to the Indiantown I-95 light, just so I can turn left and go into Indiantown, or excuse me, so I can go into down Indiantown to my road. Now, if we were to increase that with the additional traffic from the school, I can only imagine how much more that's going to back up on I-95. And I do go and leave at the same time as any other school, so the traffic would be that much more exponentially far worse. The other thing I'd like to do is address some of the things that the initial representation or representative pointed out on behalf of Calvary Christian Church School. First of all, they mentioned that there was an RV park. I wanted to clarify, as the representative from that park pointed out, it's actually an RV coach facility, and most of the lots are actually owned. It's not like a KOA campground where people are coming and going constantly. So I wanted to make that clear that that's not a commercial type environment where there's lots of traffic coming in and out, although it is dangerous when they do because of, as it's been discussed, the length of the coaches. Next, I'd like to point out that the Sandhill cranes, which come back.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Good morning.
Wait,
My name is Donna Sansone.
Wait
and-
1 second, Donna. We're just going to call 2 more people up. So.
Okay.
Jen Relitz and David Braun.
All right, go ahead.
Alrighty. My name is Donna Sansone, and although I'm a resident of Century Village here in West Palm Beach, I travel to Calvary Church every weekend to attend services because of their commitment to their faith, their families, and their community. I'm here today to voice my strong support for the zoning approval of Calvary Christian School. A school is not just a building, it is a vital pillar of a healthy community. Calvary Church has been a pillar of excellence for Jupiter Farms residents since 2008. As the needs of its community grows, so must the services they provide. In 1999, the Palm Beach County School District purchased 153 acres to build a middle school to serve Jupiter Farms children, but ultimately abandoned the project, leaving students zoned for public middle and high schools outside of the immediate farm's boundaries. Calvary will not abandon the children of Jupiter Farms. Instead, they can fulfill that need in a much smaller footprint. Calvary Christian School will offer families a high-quality educational choice that nurtures both academic excellence and strong moral character right in their local community. By approving this request, you are supporting the holistic development of the local youth. I understand your duty to evaluate the physical impact of this project. However, the leadership of Calvary is fully committed to being an excellent neighbor. They have proactively addressed practical concerns by designing a comprehensive traffic management plan and ensuring the architecture blends beautifully with the existing community guidelines. Furthermore, the school will bring positive economic and social value to Jupiter Farms. It will utilize this property for a peaceful, family-oriented purpose. It will also bring families.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
You may go.
Hi there. My name is Scott Owens. I applaud you guys for everything you're doing, sitting here, listening to all this. We appreciate that. I think you guys have a tough job because you have a technical requirement to fulfill here, and obviously there's some subtleties here. I'm a lifelong Palm Beach County resident. I was here when Palm Beach Gardens ended. 95 didn't go past Palm Beach Gardens. This is a traffic conversation that we're having, really, if we want to talk about the technical parts of it. So I think you have some real issues there. One is your job, obviously, is to plan for the future. So this isn't a 2026 problem. It's a 2040 problem, a 2050 problem. The school is intended to create capacity for the growing needs of the county, not the current needs of the county. And with respect to Indian Town Road, the die was cast for what Indian Town Road was going to be when they put a Turnpike exchange and a 95 exchange there. It's a major thoroughfare now through the county to the western county. That's a problem that the residents of Jupiter Farms are going to have to contend with, and we're not solving it and we're not creating it. The school isn't the reason why the traffic is there. Certainly it's going to increase traffic, but it's not going to be the major driver of traffic. It's the growth of South Florida and Palm Beach County that's doing that. Your job, obviously, is to contend with that and try and make wise decisions. So I hope that you can look through all of that and try to come up with some semblance. I thought it was interesting that there was a discrepancy. I heard a discrepancy between the two reports, the county's report and the church's report. I would love to see a reconciliation of those. People have said only 3 of 8 match. The church says 8 of 8 match. Let's find out before the next meeting what the true condition of the 8 requirements are, and then I hope you guys can make a decision to approve the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second. We're going to just call 2 more people up.
Bill Donison and Brandy Hassan.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Thank you for your time and for your patience as well, and I'll try to keep this brief. It was mentioned a moment ago about the Palm Beach County School Board. Each year we pay millions of dollars to the Palm Beach County School Board, and as she mentioned, they sold 153 acres in Jupiter Farms because they determined there was no justification for additional schools to serve this community. In 1989, the Palm Beach County Comprehensive Plan established a land use of 1 unit per 10 acres. This was intended to put a stop to people who own larger parcels of land from dividing the property into 1.25 acre lots. The property we're talking about is just under 20 acres, so let's say we divide it into 2 10-acre lots and we've got 2 houses on each. This proposed school would bring over 1,000 people to the same piece of property, which is 100 times more than what you would expect with 2 residential homes on that property. Anyone that tries to tell you that squeezing 1,000 people into this space will not impact the surrounding area really needs to be educated about environmental sociology or human ecology. The impact on this and the surrounding properties would be extreme. Today, directly across Indian Town Road from this property are thousands of acres of the Cypress Creek Natural Preserve. It's in pristine condition. Before Cypress Creek property was purchased for preservation, there were plans to clear the land, erect a private school along with other amenities, and thank goodness intelligent minds prevailed. Many of us choose to live in Jupiter Farms because we do not want to live in the city. We enjoy our peaceful surroundings and ask that you deny this request for further commercialization of our rural community. And I don't think I mentioned my name at the beginning. It's Michael Culpepper, 6th generation Floridian. I live at 18937 129th Terrace North in Jupiter Farms. And my great-grandfather was a Church of God preacher, and he had 7 sons, 5 of whom were preachers. So I support Christianity.
You may go.
My name is Jennifer Reelitz. I live at 12906 Sandy Run. I'm also a Christian 3rd generation church planter. I'm not opposed to children, churches, or education. I am opposed because of this location. Let's talk about why people move to Jupiter Farms where nature smiles for miles and miles. We drive further to get groceries. We make lots of sacrifices. We spend more time commuting to work. We pay more in gas. We give up convenience every single day, and we do it willingly. We make these sacrifices because we value more natural areas, taller trees, more wildlife, less people, less traffic, darker skies, brighter stars, quiet roads, and a rural way of life. We did not choose Jupiter Farms because it's convenient. We chose it because it's different. This proposal asks us to accept the burdens of rural living while losing the character that makes these sacrifices worthwhile. As my 9-year-old said, we don't want Jupiter Farms to turn into a city. Residents are not opposing this project because we dislike Christians, education, or children. Again, I'm a multi-generational, I think I had a preacher on the Mayflower, okay? We go back. 1,000-person institutional campus is fundamentally inconsistent with the rural tier. Nearly 500 residents have emailed you because we have genuine concern. We will live with the consequences of this decision long after it is made. The question before you is not whether the school would be beneficial somewhere. Certainly it would be. The question is whether it belongs on a dead-end road in Jupiter Farms. For those of us who have chosen the sacrifices of rural living, the answer is no. I ask that you deny this application and protect the rural tier. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to call 2 more people up before you begin.
Kelly Blackwood and Debbie Oliva.
Thank you. You may begin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandy Hassan, and I have been a resident of Jupiter Farms for 40 years. My husband and I live just 1 street over from Rocky Pines Road, where Calvary Christian School is proposed to be built. As parents of 2 daughters, we wholeheartedly support bringing this school to Jupiter Farms. Like many families in our community, we have chosen to homeschool because the public school system has repeatedly failed to meet our family's educational needs and values. We believe parents should have meaningful educational choices for their children, and Calvary Christian School would provide exactly that. This school represents more than just another educational option. It fills a critical need in our community. Families in Jupiter Farms deserve access to a quality K-12 education, close to home, one that reflects their values, provides academic excellence, and will focus on trades that can benefit the community, specifically without requiring children to spend time commuting in and out of town each day. Jupiter Farms has long been a community built on family, faith, and local involvement. Calvary Christian School would strengthen those foundations by giving families another opportunity to educate their children in an environment that supports both their academic growth and character development. I respectfully ask that you support this project and the many families who are eager for this opportunity. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Bill Dennison, 35-year resident of Jupiter Farms, in opposition to this project. I'm also a 25-year building official in this county for 6 different municipalities, so I do know a little something about development approval and zoning, since I dealt with it all that time, and this is inappropriate and inconsistent, period, with this site. Doesn't have anything else to do with that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you begin, we're going to call 2 more.
Allison Blackwood and Carrie Austin.
You may begin.
Good morning, and thank you for taking the time to hear our community speak today. My name is Debbie Oliva, and I've been a resident of Jupiter Farms for the past 16 years. My husband built our home in 1986 and has lived in Jupiter Farms for 40 years. We are both proud members of Calvary Chapel and are deeply invested in our community. Over the years, I have been actively involved in Jupiter Farms in a variety of ways. I've done the Christmas parades, I've done Halloween in the farms, and I am the founder and president of the Jupiter Farms Lunch Bunch. With me saying that, that is letting you know that I do have very big contact in Jupiter Farms. I hear from these women, I hear from the community, and very deeply. I also am the administrator of 9 Jupiter Farms Facebook groups. I'm also the moderator of the Next Door community. I want you to know that my involvement in these organizations and events have given me the opportunity to connect to many residents and gain a deep understanding of their values, concerns, and priorities in this community. I have seen, heard, and read the many comments of support, concerns, and oppositions. Many of the people opposing this project are concerned about traffic and say it doesn't belong in Jupiter Farms, yet they are in support of a public middle school and high school on Jupiter Farms Road. That is a 2-lane road. I have heard this over and over again, and it blows my mind. There are many comments made about the school that will not service just Jupiter Farms residents, yet we have 2 RV parks, Bush Wildlife, 6 churches, Elks Lodge, and that clearly does not serve just Jupiter Farms. Board members, the recommendations you make for this proposed Christian school is going to set a precedent. If you recommend denial of this project, then no future schools of any kind, public or private, can be recommended. Other will be clearly an infringement of exercise of religion. Thank you so much for your time in this matter, and I pray you make the right recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you begin, we're going to call up 2 more people.
Brian Pravda and Daniel Harrison Raskin.
And we have 2 more. They're all in the overflow, so do you want to just call them so they can come in?
Yeah. Heather and Tony Rossi and Kimberly Tuttle.
All right, you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Allison Blackwood. I'm representing myself and my husband, Kelly Blackwood, who's also called. He didn't wish to speak. I'm going to speak on his behalf. Florida, born and raised, and living in Jupiter Farms since 2014. I listen to a lot of people speak on both sides, and I know a lot of people on both sides, and I'm just here to record my opposition to the Calvary Church for all of the impacts that were already mentioned. Also, one of the things that I'd like to say is one of our sons went to Calvary Christian in Fort Lauderdale, so we definitely support Christian education. However, we don't support the school in the current area where they're planning it. I would rather see Calvary Christian further in the urban areas and bring the students in. I know that they mentioned school necessity in Jupiter Farms for students. And the only other part about it is that Calvary Christian is a private school, requires a large commitment, financial commitment of people to go to that school for their students. And I'd prefer to see a public school there, even though I love Christian education. I think it's more reasonable to expect parents to have an option for a public school, even though it was denied. So I feel that because of all the other things that they've said denying it, I would appreciate your denying it also. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Brian Pravda, 12906 154th Road North in Jupiter Farms. In addition to being a Jupiter Farms resident, I'm an architect with nearly 30 years of experience. I've been working in South Florida for 20 years. Normally, I would come before you asking for approvals for projects. That's my job. And normally, I do not speak out against projects. It's kind of contrary in my profession. But I am today. And the reason is that it's blatantly apparent that this doesn't comply with the zoning code. And that's, you have a very narrowly tailored duty as a quasi-judicial board to look at these 8 criteria for the conditional use and say, did you meet the burden of proof and prove that you met all of these criteria without question? And it's undoubtedly no. If someone was to hire me, the first thing I do is a feasibility study. I look at the zoning code, look at the site, say, is this compatible? It might take me 15 minutes, maybe 30, and most will say absolutely not. And it's unquestionable. Even the presentation, they try to use public school data to support it. They tried to look at Bush Wildlife to support this. Just for reference, Bush Wildlife, the maximum auditorium capacity is 160 people. They're talking about bringing 1,100 plus people per day, 980 students, plus staff, plus teachers, janitorial, everything else. It's really, I think, just kind of a slap in the face to the purpose of the code. And then further, I want to mention, if you look at serving the community, by their own numbers, you're looking about at 10% more or less as far as Jupiter Farm residents, students who would make up student population. That is not serving the community. That's without question. And then I also just want to mention, people have talked about the 8 criteria. It's very clear. I hope you've read the staff report. It's very thorough, very to the point. And I think one of the most important things is you go through, they have to meet all of them. The proposed use is compatible and generally consistent with the uses and character of the land surrounding and in the vicinity of the land proposed for development. Without question, it does not. I encourage you to unanimously recommend denial.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Rossi. My husband Tony had to leave for work. I live at 17938 Bridal Court. When you say not in my backyard, this literally is my backyard. My backyard directly is attached to this project. I've read the proposal, and no lighting, dark lighting, nothing on the fields, the sports fields. They say that right now, but will it hold up down the road 5-10 years from now? Who knows? I just can't understand how this project will be approved given the Rocky Pines Road. It does not make any sense if you talk to any of the landowners on Rocky Pines. And I know that my next speaker will be addressing that, so I'll leave that for him. But I'm not against a school. I'm not against a Christian school. I'm a Christ follower. I will not attend this church, and I will not. I hope you go for denial of this project. This is not the right place for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello. My name is Daniel Harrison Raskin. I both live and operate my wholesale nursery on Rocky Pines Road. Over the past 20 years, my nursery has grown to one of the most prominent in the area. Our busiest time of the day is 7:30 till 9 a.m. During season, during these hours, we typically have dozens of work trucks, semis, and flatbeds entering and leaving Rocky Pines. If the traffic congestion is as bad as some fear it will be, it could be devastating for not only my family and employees, but also the hundreds of landscape companies, many of which that are local, that we service, and all of their employees and families as well. The same goes for my vendors and their employees and family. The potential negative economic impact is something I feel is necessary and important to factor into your decision. I have no ill will towards the church or private schools, But I would be remiss if I didn't say my piece here today, as I am speaking for and representing many more people than just myself. The school can be a great idea, even in the farms, but not on a dead-end road and not on Rocky Pines. It's just not a practical location. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one card. We're not sure if the gentleman spoke, so we're going to just verify.
David Brown.
David Brown, did he speak? Does anybody? No. He didn't speak. All right.
Okay. So we had Carrie Austin and Kimberly Tuttle.
They were in the overflow room. We called them earlier. And then we had a card submitted, but it was submitted too late, so it'll just go into the record for somebody who did support and wanted to speak. And we have tremendous amount of cards that folks opposed or in support that did not want to speak that will also go into the public record. We'd like to go ahead and bring up the attorney to respond to the comments and the other things before we take questions up from the commission.
It's not the attorney, it's
So
the agent for,
Don,
yeah, it's,
I'm
unless
sorry.
the attorney wants to speak.
Yeah. Five minutes. We're going to give you 5 minutes for rebuttal.
That is great. Well, commissioners, thank you so much for your time. Mr. Seymour, Ms. Dean don't need to say anything today. As you can see, there's people emotional on both sides of this equation, and it's a complicated issue. But if you could sit up there and say a public school, which basically can go anywhere, just with a simple coordination with local government, without any zoning approval, then I think it's kind of hard to say just because it's a private school that it doesn't go there. I think we've, when it comes to the idea of compatibility and need, I mean, we know anecdotally and actually factually that there's about 300 homeschoolers in that area that would love an opportunity like this. We know there's about 300 that go to private school. You hold for many of them here today that live in Jupiter Farms and that would love to have school choice. We say that there's no change. Well, since 2020, there's a significant change in the public wanting school choice. They want an option. When I went to high school at Jupiter High School, that wasn't even a topic, but today it is. So that is a significant change. And then there's 991 students bus or drive by car out of Jupiter Farms every single day. 62%, just the 991, not the other 600 private school. So we believe that we have demonstrated the test. I'm going to have Pete real quickly with the remainder of the time go through the 5 criteria to just reinforce where we meet those points.
Yes, thanks, Don. When we look through the staff report does confirm a lot of things. It confirms that we meet all of the requirements of the ULDC. It confirms that we are compatible with the area. It provides a population analysis that only goes to 2010. But when we look at when the Jupiter Farms plan was established in 1994, the actual population figures provided in that document state that there's about 7,500 people living in Jupiter Farms. The 2026 population estimates are almost 14,000 people now live in Jupiter Farms. In 1994, when the plan was created, it identifies the need for a middle school. It identifies the need for a high school. It explicitly states a goal is to stop busing children out of Jupiter Farms into Palm Beach Gardens, into Jupiter for middle and high school. We're here today to solve that problem. We're here to help Jupiter Farms meet the goals of that plan and provide self-sufficiency by providing an option for the over 900 students that leave Jupiter Farms every day to go to middle school, to go to high school, to stay home and have an option where they live. Just also wanted to further on the compatibility, staff confirms in the staff report that we meet all of the level of service, all public facilities, traffic, environmental, water, sewer, drainage. Those are facts. Those are in the report. However, the report also goes in to say that it's likely we may draw students from outside of the area. Well, a student's address and zip code aren't a requirement of the comp plan. It's not a requirement of the LDC. So in evaluating this project, when we look at what the measurable standards are, intensity, height, buffers, every one of those, check, 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 check. We meet and exceed all of our requirements. We talk about the changed conditions. I just went over that. Population has doubled since 1994. We're meeting 3 of the goals of the neighborhood plan. When it comes to adverse impacts, we have conditions of approval for lighting, no PA. Those are requirements. Those aren't promises. Those are required by the development order that will be enforced by the county. Those are things that we're going to meet. The staff report also sort of misaligns our developable area. It says we are developing 80% of the site. I think when Mr. Herring put up our site plan and we showed that 68% of our site is open and green space, and then the staff report goes on to compare us to the commercial plaza on Jupiter Farms Road that's got a McDonald's, a gas station, a bank, Elks Lodge, Publix. That's not an apples to apples comparison that any planner would make. This is an institutional use. It's a school use. We are under the maximum building footprint. We are under the maximum intensity FAR. These are facts. In conclusion, I think in totality, looking at all of the standards we meet and exceed.
I'll let you wrap it up.
Thank you. Looking at the population that has doubled since 1994, looking at the stated goals of the neighborhood plan for a middle school, for a high school, to stop busing out 62% of the students. I think this project achieves all of those. Thank you for your time.
Wendy, did you want to?
The only correction that I want to say is that he made a comment saying that we confirm that the site is compatible, and that is incorrect. That's one of the criteria we're saying is not compliant with. And then they meet adequate public facilities as we have right now. But just so the board knows, there are additional permitting requirements that will be needed if the board were supported, which includes getting permits from Sir Wicket for roadways. I want to put on the record that the county will not be accepting any roadways. These are easement. Rocky Pines is an easement. So the county will not be accepting any maintenance requirements for that roadway. And then they will also have to get permits from the health department as well as probably South Florida Water Management District in order to maintain their water because their water is being proposed as a well. And they will have minimum requirements in order to meet fire needs, fire and the provision of water for the school. There's 2 different water needs for the school, one to service on a daily basis, bathrooms and water and so forth, but fire needs is also a different criteria that will have to be met if this were to be approved. So they still have to show all those permit requirements at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Well, you know what? I wanted to just say something to the audience. Thank you so much. I have never seen a group of people that have maintained and held themselves as professional as you all have on either side. So I really want to thank you because we've been in situations where I've constantly had to interject. So I'm very, very pleased that you guys all really listened and let everybody have a voice. So I wanted to thank you for that.
I just have just a couple small comments. One, I understand where staff is coming from and where cavalry is coming from as well. But I think this project has some merit, but it needs to be reduced in size. This is way too much traffic on that road. And just widening some things and putting a signal in there, in my opinion, isn't going to resolve it. If the board was to approve this, I suggest we put something in there, Wendy, that shows that they have a full-time police officer on the staff on that road whenever school comes and goes, and that they agree to pay for it. Because I think it's an open book to some real traffic issues with a dead-end road like that. And but it's a nice project, but it's way too dense for that size property and for the usage of the community. Period. That's my opinion.
I have
3 questions for staff, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
We heard a couple, I think 4 or 5 people actually mention that the proposal was for vocational, technical, and trades teaching at this site. Am I right? Is that's a different animal than what's actually before us today?
A vocational school is different than the public school, so
that's not
what their request is. It's for a private school.
Okay, thank you. My second question for staff is Indiantown Road, even though the address is on Rocky Pines, will any part of Indiantown Road be required to be a school zone? Do we know that at all?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but if you give me opportunity, I can try and look it up.
Okay, thanks. And then my third question, while you're working on that part, is one of the conditions of approval is that Rocky Pines be upgraded to a local commercial road, which is an 80-foot right-of-way. All of the presentation material and the preliminary site plan show it as a 60-foot easement. Why the inconsistency?
So the condition is Olive Bailey with land development. So the condition is for them to improve the road to local commercial standards. So within the existing easement, they would improve it with the 2 12-foot lanes, the sidewalks, the drainage. So within the existing alignment, they would improve it. They wouldn't be getting additional right-of-way.
So they would be required to have 12-foot lanes, though,
Correct.
not the 10-foot lanes shown on their site plan.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a few questions. 53 people spoke. Thank you. And that was very good. Most of them were really living either pro or against. Were living in Jupiter Farms, which it was good to hear that. I have a few questions about a little bit about history. Just the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan was established in 1994, and did it? I'm not totally familiar with it, so if you can explain possibly, did they have an idea of what certain parcels would be in the future? Because this was purchased by the Archdiocese of Palm Beach in 1993. So when the neighborhood plan was formed, it had already been purchased by a religious organization. And what would you expect to be there other than a church or school or religious school? So how did that, was there any indication in the Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan that would address this? No, we just have to. They owned it for more than 30 years, the Archdiocese of Palm Beach, and I couldn't imagine what they would put there other than a church or a school. So that's my question. So.
Yeah, so Travis Goodson again for Planning Division. The Jupiter Farms neighborhood plan is fairly general in the regard that I don't believe it calls out specific parcels. It calls out different roadways and different overall needs recommendations for the community, but I don't recall that it calls out this parcel specifically.
Yeah, that's too bad because most everyone here knows I live in the agriculture reserve, and of course that plan for the agriculture reserve, the master plan did really specifically go into detail in certain areas that were grandfathered in or whatever. But so we just have to put that aside, think about that, and also people living next door to this gigantic piece of property, whether they moved in 8 years ago or 10 years ago, would have known that that was owned by the Archdiocese of Palm Beach, and then it was sold to this Calvary Church in 2024. Okay, so my other question is, just why is there no entrance and exit on Indiantown Road? Am I asking a question that is pertinent or not? It's my question. Why does this, the trailer park has it, but this piece of property doesn't have it? For being there for so very long, what happened?
Go ahead.
Donaldson Hearing here for the record. I also have Ms. Stephanie Kinlan with Kinley Horn and Associates. I'll let her answer really from the traffic perspective. But we had discussions with Palm Beach County about the potential of access onto Indiantown Road directly. It would have to cross and get a permit across the existing canal that's there. And their strong preference was at this location. But Stephanie, you're the traffic engineer and expert. Do you want to respond?
Certainly. Good afternoon, members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Stephanie Guerra. I'm a transportation engineer with Kinley Horn. And effectively, it comes down to access management and the location of the existing westbound left turn lane onto Rocky Pines Road. When we discussed with staff, we determined collectively that it was more appropriate to consolidate the trips onto Rocky Pines Road and to be able to improve that intersection, including the proposal for the future traffic signal in order to facilitate left and right turns out onto Indiantown Road to facilitate safe movements.
So there are plans for when it's warranted for there to be a signal there?
Correct.
When it's warranted. And would this bring it up, make it warranted, this project?
Our analysis did find that it would be warranted with this project.
Okay. And where would that traffic signal go? Rocky Pines Road, and would there be any access north, or does it, what?
Oh, so to clarify, it would be a T intersection.
Okay.
So as part of that, in addition, the staff has also recommended conditions of approval for the construction of an eastbound right turn, the extension of the westbound left turn. Those are movements onto Rocky Pines from Indiantown Road. An additional turn lane to have separate left and right turns from Rocky Pines Road onto Indiantown Road, but there would not be a proposed north leg of that intersection.
Okay. And how did the trailer park, this was apparently purchased in 2018, this property for the motor park? How long has the motor park been there? 6 years? 8 years? Can staff tell me that?
To look it up.
Oh, okay. I see something was sold. Maybe Brian can answer that
So
question.
Brian can't, but because that's in Martin County, I believe. It's not in Palm Beach County. Is that right or wrong?
No, that's
It is in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
It goes. I can't remember where the lines are. I don't have that, but Wendy probably does, or it's somewhere on EPZB.
I actually do believe that this trailer park was used as an example to put the trailer park on West Atlantic Avenue, adjacent to the West Delray Regional Park. This park was used as an example, being something that these motor coaches, and they would stay for a week or two, like holiday. But I just wondered how that looks like it's sort of inconsistent with the area. So it's been there since...
There was approval in 2006 and modifications in 2014. 2015, there was another modification. So the RV park was originally approved in 2006, and then they went through modifications in 2014, 2015. To be the way it is, because originally when it was approved, it had more campsites, smaller RVs. The last approval in 2015 did it more like a condo style where they own the property and have the larger vehicles.
It seems like in 2018 or between 16 and 18, it became this very large, productive thing. Okay, fine. That's all my question. Thank you.
Commissioner, right here, Olive.
Yeah.
I'd like to clarify because the part of your question was the access to Rocky Pines versus Indiantown. So our code requires that you access a lesser classified road. So our analysis begins with Rocky Pines being the road they access from.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Williams, do you have comments? No.
One quick question for staff. So the rural tier, so basically this property is only residential allowed, and other uses that are allowed, non-residential uses allowed on this property? If it was in the report, I didn't see, and I do apologize, but is any other uses besides the 2 single-family homes?
Residential is allowed, agricultural uses are allowed, a place of worship is allowed as an institutional use. I don't have all the lists, but there are other institutional uses that could possibly go on there, some with conditional use approvals as well, just like this one. But agriculture is the primary and residential. Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a couple questions, and I know they were probably in the report, but so traffic was studied based on the 980 students, and
Yes.
and it meets traffic.
Yes.
Okay, and I know Wendy, you'd said they had to still get Mr. Wiki for.
I would say it meets traffic with proposed conditions of approval and additional permitting through other agencies.
Okay. And then the septic and the well, you said that had to go through Sir Wiki.
They're proposing to connect to a sewer provider with the Loxahatchee River Control District. And then they are not proposing to connect to a water service provider, which is Jupiter Farms. The closest water line is all the way by Jupiter Farms Shopping Center. So if they were to connect to water, they would have to bring the water line all the way down. So their proposal is to be on a well, which would require permits through the health department and South Florida Water Management District.
Okay, and clearly they haven't done that yet.
And then, of course, they have to make sure that when they're doing their water, it's meeting the needs of the size of the facility and to meet fire requirements as well.
Okay, and then there was a comment about, and I read that too, the dark skies. So there's restrictions on the site to have any kind of lights in the evening?
If the board were to propose approval, staff has included conditions of approval limiting lighting and foot candles, heights, and so forth.
Okay. And could that be in perpetuity? Like they couldn't come back, or they could come back later and
Could
ask?
always come back and modify conditions.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Make a motion.
Do I have any motions?
Yes, I'll make a motion to recommend denial of the Class A conditional use of item 6A.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Motion for denial passes.
Okay, so as everybody exits quietly, we have one more item on the agenda for our ULDC revision. I know the agent had stepped out, but I believe I can introduce it. The proposal is a workforce housing program on-site construction option, and it's a privately proposed revision, Phase 1.
Please be quiet as you exit. Thank you.
A privately proposed revision to the Unified Land Development Code is processed in 2 steps.
Please be quiet as you exit. We're still in a meeting. Exit quietly and chat outside, please. Thank you.
So a privately proposed revision to the Unified Land Development Code is done in 2 phases. So this is the first phase on whether or not we should initiate. I should point out, and I know that the applicant will point out, this was part of BCC direction, excuse me, to move forward with this type of proposed revision. But I will turn it over to the applicant to summarize their change and then answer any questions if you have to.
Good afternoon. For the record, Kevin Rattery. I don't know what I did to get my position today, but apparently I'm in the doghouse. For the record, again, Kevin Rattery. I'm Vice President with GL Homes. This relates to a project that you actually saw back in February called the Falls Golf and Country Club, which is the conversion of the Falls Golf Course. It was approved by both this commission and by the Board of County Commissioners. Associated with that presentation, I informed you that I would be seeking a code amendment, and it really deals with fixing a glitch in the code relative to the timing of delivery of on-site workforce housing units. I want to make it clear that in that particular project, with the board's approval, we committed to providing the workforce housing units on site. There are 3 other disposition options, which is build them off site, pay the county the in lieu dollars, or do the exchange. This particular provision and the changes that are coming forward only apply to workforce housing units, which are going to be built and provided on site. Before you is the current code language, and it reads that 50% of the required workforce housing units must receive their CO prior to the issuance of 50% of the market rate unit building permits. It then goes on to say all workforce housing units must receive certificates of occupancy prior to the issuance of no more than 85% of the residential building permits. After you read that 3 or 4 times, you pick up what it's trying to do, but it's correlating certificates of occupancy of the workforce housing units to building permits of the market rate project. Just to refresh your memory on the falls, at the southeast corner, you have a green pod called Pod E, and that was a 300-unit single building multifamily rental component of this project, which is where the workforce housing units are being built. As a single building, all of the building permits for the 300 units are issued at one time, and all of the COs for the units are issued at one time. And so what happens when you have a multifamily building that consists of multiple buildings in the same building, it's not a one-for-one track. This was an elevation, which is irrelevant. So what we're really doing is we're differentiating single-family from multifamily units. And we're breaking it into 2 parts. Part 1 deals with single-family units, and it doesn't change the standard other than to correlate certificates of occupancy to certificates of occupancy rather than building permits to certificate of occupancy. So when 50% of the workforce housing units receive their COs, 50% of the market rate units also have to have their COs. So it correlates timing-wise better. The second one really deals with how do you deal with attached product that have multiple units being permitted at the same time. And so what we've basically done is said for subject developments where the workforce housing units are townhomes or multifamily units or a mix of townhomes, single family and multifamily, when you get to COs of 85% of the market units, you got to have 85% of the COs of your workforce housing units. Staff and I worked together to get this language to where staff was comfortable, we were comfortable. Again, this was board direction to seek this privately initiated code amendment. Again, it's really just to address a glitch in the timing because the previous timing, if you think logically about it, for a project that had 500 single family and 300 multifamily units, when I go to pull the permit for the multifamily units, I'm pulling all 300. It is physically impossible to then CO those 300 units at the exact same time I'm pulling the building permits. So this just fixes that glitch. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
No, I don't think we have any questions.
Any questions, anyone?
None.
None. Okay. Do I have a...
I'll motion to recommend approval. Okay, go
All right,
ahead.
no, it's her turn.
My turn.
Yes, you go.
Okay, motion to recommend approval of Phase 1, initiation of Phase 2.
Second.
I'll have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn. No.
Do we have comments?
None from me. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone?
No comments.
Very good.
We're probably
Very good.
expecting to have another heavy agenda next month as well.
Okay. Ooh, is that the 2nd of July? Is it the 2nd of July?
Yeah, I'm not going to be here, I don't think.
I don't know. We might not have.
I'm not going to be here.
Yes, we will check. If you guys can advise us if you will be there or not on the 2nd, that would be lovely.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
think I'm going to be here.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I plan to be here, so, but,
Okay. You two.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Yeah, 3, 4,
That's 3.
5. Okay, we'll have quorum then.
Good luck.
Who's that?
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. No.
It's having a catch in the backyard. It's playing in sandlots or on fields. It's the roar of the crowd on opening day and the echoing sound from the crack of a bat hitting the ball. Baseball, for those that love it, it's more than a game. It is life. And in the Palm Beaches, you can live it all year long. From the year-round leagues, where the purity of the game is alive and well, to spring training, where major leaguers are getting ready for the show. Whether at Roger Dean Stadium or the ballpark of the Palm Beaches. Rooting for hometown heroes or just cheering for the love of the game itself. Few places have the same level of dedication to America's pastime as the Palm Beaches. Come and discover your perfect game at thepalmbeaches.com.
A Florida Highway Patrol state trooper was struck from behind.
It only takes seconds for a devastating accident to happen.
In this case, both the driver and the trooper were injured.
When you see lights flashing on the side of the road, you need to move over, and if you can't move over, slow down and use caution.
Our emergency workers must operate in a dangerous area.
So follow the law and give us some space.
It's for your safety and ours.